Alright, Kingkillers, we're covering chapters 74 through 77 in this episode. We discuss Kvothe being sent off to lead a hunt for some bandits, and we meet Dedan, Hespe, Tempe, and Marten. Then we run into another tinker, and we meet Losi at the Pennysworth Inn. Also, we talk more on the roofing situation in this world, how Kote got his name, and we prove that he is an unreliable narrator. So sit back and enjoy.
Devil wanna flee, I got a scope zoomed in on the sniper in the trees. I'ma surround if the devil wanna flee, I got a scope zoomed in on the sniper in the trees.
All right, welcome back to the Kingkiller podcast. Dan, got with me little guy Tim. What's up? How you doing?
I'm present. I'm here, and let's do this.
Yeah, we got there's big news that broke today on the old inner tubes.
The tubes of the internet.
Yeah, fucking. Now this is gonna be huge. Like, you guys have to do this today. On this day that we're recording this episode, you need to send
even though you're not going to hear
money
it today.
to Patrick Rothfuss's charity, because if it hits a certain amount today, he's going to read the prologue and one of the chapters from Doors of Stone on his stream. So don't let me down. Don't screw this up. This has to happen today. Make it happen. Our millions and millions of fans. You guys don't even have to donate more than $1, and it'll blow past the goal.
The problem is this isn't live. I mean, it's live now for you and I, but they're not.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm living right now.
Yes, I'm not debating that you're alive at this very moment, but I hope he hits it. Dude, that'd be dope. We'd have to do just an episode about that, clearly.
Yeah, we would.
Especially if he does a chapter. The prologue would be one thing, because, I mean, I'd already have some expectation of what we'd get in that. But the chapter could be a wide array of variety of different things.
Now, if you guys are following me on the Twitter and the Insta, the Grammy, then you would know this information. You would know this information. That's how fucking kids talk, man. Get with the with the times, man.
Not only would they know it when they're listening to this, they would have known it before you even mentioned it.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. And you probably, if he's already, by the time you listen to this, if he's already read those, you would have known about it, and you would have heard him already. They would have,
like,
all that information would already went into your earballs. By
the way, earballs. I will say, I'm going to predict that we reach it, and congratulations, everyone. I hope you all contributed, and we enjoyed the prologue and the chapter. And,
so
we'll do an episode about it. It's coming.
I really,
listen to the next one.
We should talk about like what he did. I mean, because they will have already heard it. The people listening to this episode, they will have already heard what he read. So we should probably talk about it now.
Since we have prior knowledge, we should.
No, I think we can guess what he's going to read. I think it's pretty obvious. It's going to be a chapter. It's going to start off with Dedan coming back from a shift to Jack in the Box.
I think he's going to lay some groundwork to the boy band.
Kvothe, she's going to be talking about how sore her lower back is. Kvothe's going to take her to a hot yoga class with Kilvin. Nice. And then after the yoga class, they're going to head to Aeolian. She's going to get some drinks, relax, while Kvothe and Ambrose go up there for some slam jam poetry.
Do a duet.
That's clearly the chapter he's going to read. And anybody who's doubting our predictions is going to feel like a total fool when you hear the chapter he reads.
I'm slightly hesitant to think all of that's happening in one chapter. That's a lot. He's taking Dedan to the university.
She comes from the Fae after one of her shifts and she meets up
Oh,
with
her.
Kvothe at
Gotcha.
the university, and he's on his way to the hot yoga class.
And her back hurts from a double shift.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So we don't
And-
actually see her working at Jack in the Box. She relates that information to Kvothe.
Got it.
Yeah, get ready for look forward to that. It's gonna be a
Sounds
fucking
solid.
super dope chapter.
People are going to be. I think that's a shitting the pants.
Yeah, it's
moment
definitely
for a
fucking
lot of people.
nipple blasting off. Oh yeah, someone would definitely shit their pants if that was a chapter. They'd be like, "Holy shit, they're right."
Yeah, well, a lot of people would be losing their fucking minds. Like, wait, what? What is? Yeah.
Rothfuss should do that. Just troll people and just make up a story like that, and then be like, "Hey, I read these wasn't originally in the plans, but I've been listening to this great podcast. Got to check them out. They got some great ideas. I've been reworking the entire book."
Well, and what would happen there is, and I think this happens a lot for authors, is there's things contained in the subtext they weren't even cognizant of.
Yeah.
And it just
it's all there.
Subconscious.
Look, we've definitely laid the groundwork. I mean, the theories are solid.
Well, let's be honest. Rothfuss laid the groundwork. We just made the connections, and like you like to say, we took the books and then we made
made them pop and we made them sizzle.
I couldn't even get it out. That's so funny. Yeah.
Right. So we're starting with chapter 74. Just got done with last episode. We finished with Kvothe and Dedan, their big blow up. So chapter 74 was rumors, and Kvothe wakes up hungover and tries to get through the day playing some music. And the mayor comes in, tells him about the bandits in the woods, and he signs him up to lead a mission to go get these bandits.
Yeah, pretty big. I mean, it's a complete shift from where we've been for this period. Plus, we come off a chapter that's just it's so important, and it's so like defining a big part of the experience of what you get from this book, from both books. It's one of those moments. I always feel that the fight between them, it's like everything's coming to a head, and then it fucking just does not go well at all, for at least that line of story that you're kind of rooting for. So yeah, he's doing some drinking. He's trying to I guess he's not really feel better about his situation, but he's kind of distracting himself from his own misery.
Yeah, and we get some good stuff in the very beginning with some of the rumors. Like you get thus I learned the previous comp band bride hadn't died of consumption, but of syphilis. Syphilis contracted from an amor. How do you say that? Amorous stable hand. Lord Veston was addicted to dinner resin, and money intended for the maintenance of the King's Road was paying for his habit. Baron Jackus had paid several officials to avoid scandal when his youngest daughter was discovered in a brothel. There were two versions of that story, one where she was selling and another where she was buying. I filed that information away for future use.
So as Dedan and Kvothe were getting closer and closer, and possibility of some sexy time, instead we get it from an amorous stable hand who likes to spread their love around and their syphilis with it.
Well, and it sets it up where Kvothe is clearly going to get with Ambrose's sister. Yeah.
Because she's slutting around?
Yeah, he's definitely hooking up with her. He's either paying her or she's paying him, one of the two.
Oh, so that's why he filed that away for future use.
Yeah.
Not to blow his spot up, not to hurt Ambrose, but so
put
he
that
has
away.
a place to go.
Yeah.
Jesus. Nice. Very nice. I didn't actually take it that way. I was going to say in the beginning, he does send a ring to Braden. Braden's gone. There's a couple things here that I could see the crowd that is convinced Sender is Braden, that there's a couple things here that would actually help that, given that Denna was with Kvothe yesterday, right? Braden's been gone for a while,
Mm.
So not that they always have to be together. Obviously, they're not always together, but that, again, a lot of times that Braden's gone, Denna's gone, right? And in this case, Braden's been gone for a spell, and Denna wasn't.
Well, they left at the same time, though. And then Dedan came back, and he just hasn't got back yet.
Yeah.
So the timing of him leaving is the same as hers, so that would lend towards him being Master Ash. Him not coming back at the same time doesn't prove one thing or another.
I know. I'm throwing that out there because people probably connect to it. And then there's another thing in a few pages where the bandits are on the North Road, and it does state something about how Braden performs pagan rituals on his northern estates. So kind of suggesting he's in the north.
Yeah, but that's on the the northern Eld. I doubt he's living all the way out there. It's possible. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to that as far as that. But the one aspect of it that definitely stands out to me is that he's doing pagan rituals, and they got detailed information on what he's doing. Mm-hmm. So, that lends me to believe that, I don't think that is just an empty rumor. I think, that because of how much they talk about in this book, they talked about how the Greystones are associated as like pagan relics. I could see a situation where this is about him using the
Greystones.
The Greystones, yeah.
I wonder if that the Circle of Greystones would be seen as like a pagan sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
I was going to say also about, when someone says north, like you can live on the north or south side of a town or a city or a state, but the overall map doesn't mean he's all the way up in the Eld, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't mean if someone's the northern estates, is it northern estates of the frickin' map, or is it northern estates of a local area? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's also that.
Yeah.
I only pointed out because it was a couple things that the crowd that believes Braden Cinder without any doubt probably connect to a couple of those things.
Not many people believe that he is Braden is Cinder, because there's too many holes in it. Like the big holes, the Kote talks about that Kvothe has met Cinder twice. He describes it as like a twice in a lifetime, experience. Mm-hmm. And Kvothe has seen Braden a ton of times.
Well, no, I know there's a lot. There's much better evidence for Braden being Master Ash. So, yeah, instead of Cinder being Master Ash, that's what I've been meaning to say this whole time. I've been saying Cinder is Braden.
Yeah, there's not many people believe Braden is Cinder. Some do, but anybody who believes Braden is Cinder also believes, they are Master Ash. Yeah.
I know, but I agree. I agree that it makes more sense that Braden is his own person and Braden is Master Ash. I think the evidence is stronger, but I've seen a lot of it again on a cursory look. You can pretty quickly make connections for both, just by making all the looking at certain things that are contained in the stories.
Yeah.
The only reason there's
definitely definitely reasons you could believe Braden is Cinder. I mean, they both have so many clues pointing them both, to be in Master Ash. Both of them have so many clues pointing towards that. So it would be easy to see them as being the same person. But problem is then there's other information that seems to clearly contradict it. So, whenever you run across, contradictory information, you assume that it's not going to be true because, I don't see how he would write himself out of that. But I think, the fact that they talk about, the pagan rituals and that kind of thing, and they're described with such extravagant and meticulous detail, it makes you think that there's something to it. I mean, why put it in there and emphasize it so much if it's nothing?
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's a couple things here that I also wondered about why mention it, where he talks about the lackless lands being in the north, and he kind of suggests that there might be a connection, and then the mayor's like, wait, no? Or he's like, wait, no, it's bandits in the Eld. Before we do that, though, I did want to mention kind of one of the biggest things at the beginning of the chapter is the detail about Natalia Lackless and her sister having run away with a troupe of traveling performers, and how her parents disowned her, and he's talking about Kvothe's mom, right?
Yeah. So obviously that's one of those clues that points her to being Natalia Lackless, Kvothe's mom, Lorien, being Natalia Lackless, and it also there's the mention of another Lackless, Aculus or something like that. And so the fact that Maelwyn's the only heir, that would make Aculus her father, because he's in the line of succession. So it's got to be that he's her father if she's the only heir. But yeah, so that's the two pieces of information you get out of that. Is one, you get information on Natalia Lackless and why Maelwyn hates her, or hates the Rue, and you also get the information that she's the only heir, which means that the other guy's got to be her dad. So
when they talk about
solve that, we had talked about that when it came up, tried to figure out who they were. I'd forgotten that she's the only heir, so yeah, it has to be her dad.
When they talk about the king and queen holding depraved orgies in their private gardens, are they talking about Roderick?
You would assume if they're saying the king, because Mayor Alvaron's not a king; he's mayor.
Yeah, I mean, I mention it because the way it's delivered, they talk about the Duke of Cormazant flying into rages while in his cups, beating whoever happens to be nearby, including wife, son, several dinner guests. Fucking brutal. And then the king and queen holding depraved orgies.
Yeah, that has to be King Roderick. I mean, he's the only king, or at least the only king in this, in this area of Vent.
So he's big on orgies, depraved orgies.
Yeah,
that seems a little more intense.
Well, you rarely run into sophisticated, highbrow orgies. They're usually depraved.
Well, you said you've rarely run into.
Yeah, it's
familiar
rare.
with the orgy.
I said you rarely, not I.
Oh,
rarely.
You did say Okay, I guess that's true. I haven't ran into the orgy circuit.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody really is in that orgy scenario.
But again,
is running into ones that are very, very pinkies out and
well, when
super
you describe
sophisticated.
When you describe it that way, I'm thinking Eyes Wide Shut. That seems about as sophisticated as it's going to get, and that's still kind of grime.
Yeah, that's pretty depraved. I think it's kind of redundant to describe an orgy as depraved.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe you are correct. So,
one thing it does, I think, make pretty clear is because there are theories that the king is a kid, because it talks about his 3 regents, but I think his 3 regents are his sons, but people read that and they think regents means like people who are ruling in his stead because he's too young to be in charge, and so they think it's a boy king. And I think it's clear it's not, when they're talking about him, the king and queen, having depraved orgies, and the way Mayor Alvaron talks about him, as far as the king will get his we have
Yeah, I
an
was gonna
agreement
say,
and that
if
kind of stuff. He doesn't talk about him as if he's talking about a little kid. He would mention it. It would be said.
well, I think the mayor would specifically mention who he owes the money to. It might be Roderick
No. He said
overall,
he
but
does he does say Roderick.
no, I understand that. I'm saying if there were regents, I think he would mention them. You know what I'm saying? Because like that would be the person who's acting for Roderick, which would be the person that he actually ends up owing the money to, that he actually has to pay the money to.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
even if he wasn't going to mention the regents, he would at least mention the boy king. That boy. He wouldn't be talking about him as like a contemporary. He does. No one
Yeah,
talks about him
yeah.
as if he's a boy, and there's no
Well, I would
mention
say
of a boy king. So, like,
I would say
I
one of
don't
the
think
two
that
things
is
would have to happen.
a correct reading of the fact that there's regents. I think people are reading that wrong to assume that that means he's a little kid.
I agree. What I'm saying is one of those two things would have to happen. Either the mayor's going to talk about how Roderick is a kid, or he's going to talk about how he has to pay these regents because Roderick is a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like it would be.
No,
would have to be mentioned in
I
some
was
way,
agreeing
shape,
with
or
you.
form. Yeah. Instead of
Yeah. So I mean, we get some decent information through that. And I think between we learn more about the Lackless family. We learn that Aculeus is her dad. We learn the king and queen are fun-loving people, and Braden is doing some weird shit.
Yeah, he's got some darkness.
Or
Well, and then
he's something pagan rituals. I don't know what that necessarily means.
well,
I
that
have to
could
assume
be-
that has to do with the Greystones.
Well, I was going to say it could be a misunderstanding of he's doing something mysterious, and it could just be like you say, if it's something with the Greystones, that could just be looked at as pagan ritual in itself. When it's just there's utility in it, it's not necessarily dark. It's he's utilizing the function, and it's mysterious to others, so they look at it as they would describe it in that way.
Yeah,
because this is all secondhand shit. So.
Well, if it's going to come
Or
up
third,
too,
fourth hand.
it's got to be relevant to Kvothe. I mean, if it's not relevant, it's not going to be like he's chopping up chickens to grow an army of ghosts in his backyard, and it's like it's not going to be something like that. Has nothing to do with Kvothe's mission, where it's just some weird fucking shit. And so it's you would think it most likely. What could they tie that to that would make sense for Kvothe? And you got to think it's probably got to be Greystones. Can't think of anything else that you could tie and make, as far as pagan goes, that you could tie in to fit for Kvothe.
Yeah. I was, again, intrigued by... So we also get that they're basically betrothed. So they're engaged at this point, right? Formally. The mayor and Melwin. So it was successful. And then we get... That's what I was mentioning before, which I thought was interesting, how it was... so he talks about the road. He talks about, tax collectors being robbed. And then he mentions over half of my northern taxes taken by highwaymen. He gives Kvothe a serious look. The Lackless lands are in the north, Like, I don't know if he's mentioning that to say, well, if I can't protect Melwin's own land, what kind of, a fucking loser am I?
Yeah, he almost says that explicitly, and a little bit after that. So yeah, that's what he's saying. Like, some of that money is coming from them. And so was he going to come back to him a second time and double tax his wife because he can't fucking protect the roads?
Yeah. I guess that's the function of that. It kind of stood out because Kvothe comes back with, you think the Lacklesses are waylaying your collectors, and he's stunned, like, what? No, it's bandits. Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah. I guess that insinuates or leads to what we just talked about.
Yeah. And the other thing too, though, is he mentions, I suspect someone in my guard is in league with them. And so I'm curious what that is. Like, I'm curious if that Braden and Cinder might be working together is what I think would be more likely than Braden is Cinder. Is that Braden could be working with Cinder and, helping to start shit with the mayor, kind of doing some Machiavellian stuff where he's helping the mayor get his taxes waylaid because he's trying to start like a civil war between Roderick and the mayor.
I could see that. I mean, we get the impression that whatever they would be up to, it's not just about money. It's about creating tension and creating, strife. I would think if it was just about money, that seems kind of cheap, and it doesn't seem like Braden needs a lot of cash.
Well, no, and I mean, if it's Cinder that's stealing the money, I doubt he's paying. No, I doubt he's paying Braden. I mean, he might have him on, hired on for something, but I doubt that's not why he's not robbing the taxes to pay Braden money. The purpose is got to be to cause shit between Roderick and the mayor. I mean, it can't be that the Chandrian are just trying to make some money. It just seems ridiculous. Like it's like they're these immortal beings are worried about their funding.
They just want to be like in real nice threads, man. They're spending top dollar on the nicest clothing. Yeah, so that cheapens the story. That would cheapen the story to such a degree. I again, that's why I bring it up. We get the impression that if Braden is of this bigger thing, which he just seems to be, then the motivation is to create that tension, and it's working. It creates the tension.
Yeah, right? and when you start thinking about who in the court could be fucking with the mayor, I mean, obviously you got Dagan or whatever his name is that could be against the mayor, that Kvothe mentions as someone who causes him to freeze up. He feels uncomfortable around him, so that obviously could be an antagonist for the mayor.
Well, the fact that Cinder ends up being the guy that's in this group.
Well, when you just think if Cinder's the main bad guy of the bandits, then who else in the mayor's court could be working with him? You would think Braden and Dagan would be the two prime candidates. I don't think it would be Stape. I don't think it's Maelwyn.
Not Kote, because Kote is gone.
I mean, it could have been
like
Kote, but I don't think it's Kote because of his role already. And then you don't think it's going to be like some super minor characters. So if that information is accurate, if the mayor is correct, then you would think it's either got to be Braden or Dagan or whatever his name is.
Well, okay, but Dagon is the one that goes after Kote.
Correct,
and he doesn't find him, right?
Yeah, he does. They catch him. Kvothe finds out when he gets back that they found him.
Oh, all right. I was going to say he could be in cahoots, possibly, but I don't know. I mean, one of the things, kind of by process of elimination or the lack of other people that could be available, Dagon fits, but he's also creepy as shit. So that vibe he gives off suggests there could be a lot more there, just because he's fucking unnerving.
Yeah, the way they describe him, that's why there's people that think he's a Chandrian, and so it could easily be that he is working with Cinder, and so or it could be Braden. But I think it's got to be, if that information is accurate, I think it's got to be one of them, because I don't think it would be Maelwyn or Kote or Stapes, and there's no one else really that's mentioned that's prominent enough to where that information would be important to us.
What I think is also important about the situation in itself is that it's not about loss of money. It's about the fact, well, it is in the sense that he has to pay this to Roderick, but it's also about he has to double, triple tax his people. So it makes him look weak, right? So it creates that.
And it causes strife. People don't want to fucking get taxed.
No, that's what I mean.
So it's causing him problems. It's also making him look weak because the roads, Like, part of the reason
the
people
roads
would
aren't
accept
safe,
him
yeah.
as being a king is because he protects them. And if he's not keeping them safe and all he's doing is robbing them of money, just taking, collecting taxes from them and then coming back again and again because he can't keep the roads protected. It's like you can't protect your own money, that we're giving you, and then you're coming back for it from us again, and you're not able to keep the roads safe for us to travel on. What the fuck are you good for? That's how you get a revolt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad politics. Yeah, it's the overall it's a good way to get to fuck with this guy. It's a good way to fuck with the mayor, obviously.
Yeah, and it can cause problems between him and Roderick if it got bad enough. So you would think that's where, the line is going, and this would be something he would have to take care of. This isn't something he could just let go. So it makes sense that he's trying to take care of it. I like too that, though, that Kvothe kind of, gives him the rope with which to hang him with, because he goes and he's like, "Do you know much about woodcraft?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I stuttered under a yeoman when I was younger. I'm a master."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, good. Because guess what you're going to be fucking doing?"
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny, man. Like, just lie and figure it out. Dude, it totally reminded me, like, there's a particular jobs I've had in the past where, like, I started a job and I admitted I don't know how to use a fucking drill. Like, at that time, I didn't know how to do anything. But they were like, it's fine. I was, like, recommended on fucking personality and shit. And it worked out and I learned how to do shit. But then other guys would come on and be like, yeah, I know how to do all that stuff. And we're building like a theater room. And this dude doesn't know anything he's doing. He's like just tearing holes in the walls and shit. And I keep going. Like, I kept telling him, like, hey, man, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he do. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Like, dude, this is going to reflect upon me, all this shitty work, I don't know. It made me think of that in the sense that there's a certain bit of lying and figure it out that will work. But in the sense of this, he's going to be, luckily he's got Marten, right? And he's not completely clueless. There's also that, but.
Yeah, well, but I mean, the biggest problem with it is he's lying and putting himself in a position where it's pushing him towards having to do a job he doesn't even want to fucking do.
Yeah.
He does not want to do this shit.
It's funny how the dialogue, the conversation plays itself out, because Kvothe goes from giving advice to like, oh shit, this is me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so I'm the one. He's trying to like think of a way to wiggle himself out. There's nothing he can fucking do. He's trapped. Because it's the mayor. You can't fucking tell him no, basically.
Yeah, and so they talk about the different ways to kind of come up with a plan, and so he mentions like he could make him a blood. He doesn't tell him exactly what he would make, but he's like, I can come up with some device to make him an arrow catch. And he's like, nah. He's like, that's not good enough. He's like, if it was just about protecting the collectors, yeah, fine, but we have to get rid of these bandits. And I like when he mentions that, we have to kill these guys, because he's like, okay, well, you send in a small group and they can go and find them, then come back, get the army, and then go root them out. And he's like, or, they could just lay a trap for them and kill them all. And he's like, yeah, you could do that. He's like, is that something you think that's too harsh? And he's like, not in the least. Safe roads are the bones of civilization. Which is funny, because Kvothe, in the Waystone Inn has caused the problems that are clearly making the roads not safe to travel on anymore. Where, Carter walking home with his horse gets attacked by Scrael, and then, Chronicler walking the roads is getting robbed by deserters. And so, like, the Kvothe has completely made the roads unsafe, and is fucking up civilization because of it.
Yeah, and I think lines like this tell you why he's so bummed out about it, because he knows he's done it, and he knows just how bad it is what he's done. I like the line because it does give perspective to. I mean, it's true. It's true in terms of how our world works.
It's extremely important in their world, because you're talking about the elimination of trade.
Yeah, completely. I was gonna say trading, travel, shipping. I mean, the ability to get goods to. I mean, without that, they're very much
completely, you'd have to be
dependent on.
completely self-sufficient, and which you could. I mean, you could, have farming and be self-sufficient, but you're going to be extremely limited.
It's a good thing.
If your community doesn't, produce stone, kind of shit out of luck. Or if you don't have a lot of trees, it's going to be very, very difficult to
build shelter.
to fucking maintain life without
like
stone and trees in the society.
They need a few of them to come in and show them how to make mound houses. And then a good thing there's Crazy Marten, making barley when nobody else was.
Yeah. Yeah, they can just get drunk and drink themselves to death. But yeah, so I mean, he's 100% right. I mean, you can't have, if the roads are completely so dangerous where you're either having to spend a shit ton of money to travel, you're completely you're screwing so many people. So many people get screwed if goods are not traveling. And if the price gets jacked up, then all the price of the goods that people buy are going to get jacked up. Poor people are going to suffer tremendously. The wealthy might get around it a little bit because they, afford guards and protect their goods. And it's a little different when you're talking about Scrail and skin dancers and shit. But, even then, like, rich people are kind of screwed. But to an extent, the rich would be able to survive better with, roads being bad. But it's still limited. They're still limited, and poor people are going to suffer tremendously. And that's what we're starting to see in the frame story when he talks about, like, some of the families that are less well off. They're really struggling, having to get rid of everybody and struggling. They're going to lose their farm, and
that's the theme throughout the present day, throughout the Waystone Inn chapters, is that he's doing charity for others basically by ordering things he doesn't need. Services he doesn't need. And then chapter 2, with what the fuck? Now I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Carter? Chronicler?
Yeah, the Chronicler. I mean, we see firsthand what the roads are like. You can't even travel, basically, by yourself. Everybody has to travel in groups. And even then, I mean, you're getting, if it's guys that work for, basically their military, there's nothing you can do. They're just taking your shit.
Yeah, or if it's 6-7 Scrail, or and it could be a swarm of them, where it's a ton, a lot of them. Then what do? You're not going to be able to, the average person is not going to be able to defend themselves against that. They're just going to get massacred. So that line, stands out significantly when you start considering where things are at in the frame. But yeah, then Alvaron tells him, they basically had the same plan, and he tells him that he's going to need him to run the crew. And he's like, twice now you've served me beyond all expectations. Are you familiar with the expression, third time pays for all? Again, there was only one reasonable answer to that question. Yes, Your Grace. And
yeah, I like the way
on the road.
I like the way that whole conversation plays out, because it's like, yeah, I like your plan. Your plan's just like mine. You've been promoted to running this this plan. So congratulations.
Yeah, I like the way it kind of unfolds here, because at first he goes and he starts getting his stuff. Stapes gives him a list of things to get, and Stapes quickly gets it, like the fucking 3-time national bagger champ that he is.
Yeah. I love that he even goes as far as even mentioning produce them all more quickly than a grocer in a store.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the best bagger in the history of grocery.
Yeah. So he fucking bagged this shit up so quick and got it to him. Then Alvaron gives him 100 silver bits, and he's like, normally I'd give you a writ charging citizens to provide you with assistance and aid, but using something like that as you travel would be as good as blowing a trumpet announcing your arrival. If they're clever enough to have a spy among our guards, it's safe to assume they have connections with the local populace as well, Your Grace. They might be the local populace, he said darkly. Now, when Kvothe starts putting it together, and he's like, wait a minute, why would he have me do this?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't have any experience with this. This guy's got more money than fucking God. He could hire anybody. He could hire the best person to do this job. And he's hiring me, and I don't have any experience in this, and he doesn't know me that, well enough to be like, oh yeah, he definitely is the man for this job.
Yeah, I mean, especially leading the group, it's very conveniently timed. He's got Melwin. He doesn't need him for the main thing that he needed him for. That's accomplished.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, to me, it shows how smart the mayor is, because he knows that it's not like Kvothe is a dumbass and, this is a bad choice. He sees Kvothe is extremely reliable, and he sees that, he's got magic and all this kind of stuff. So he's like, all right, I don't need him for the primary purpose I brought him here. I got this problem. Let's see if I put him in charge of this group. Let's see what he does. He goes in, takes care of business, and handles a problem for me. Or if he doesn't, what do I lose? 100 silver bits, and I knock him down a couple fucking pegs, so I don't owe him as much.
It's a good bet. It's a good gamble because, like you said, he owes him big time, and this takes it down a few notches, and the fact that it spreads that time out, because he owes him a lot now, and 6-8 months, whatever span of time passes, you don't owe him as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not as fresh, so he doesn't owe him nearly as. It's not as vital in terms of what he owes to him at that point.
Yeah,
so it's a smart move. Yeah,
Kvothe ends up thinking that Alvaron's sending him out there to die, and I don't think that's the case. I think it's closer to his initial expectation that this is just a win-win situation for Mayor Alvaron, because if Kvothe dies, he gets rid of someone who knew about his illness and that kind of shit, but he also still has to send someone out to get these bandits, so he still has that problem to deal with. So I don't think he's just like hoping Kvothe dies, because he could just have Kvothe, killed.
Just have him killed. Yeah, easily. He's in his house.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be that difficult. He knows Kvothe's capable of some shit, but it would at least be worth the attempt if that's the goal. That's a good point, though, that you bring up, because the fact that he was being poisoned is a massive sign of weakness.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I mean, he's vulnerable in that sense. So, it's a delicate situation, which Rothfuss created a really cool. Those complications are really interesting, and the mayor, and I like that he has the mayor do what he does, and the way that he does it is pretty wise.
Yeah, and so Kvothe, he goes and he gets his loot back first off before he dips out of town, because he had already paid to have the peg, the loose peg. He had that repaired, and then he goes and he gets that back, and then he starts heading out, heading towards the group. And it's like, as I walked north, my head throbbing and my mouth gritty, I decided I would surprise the mayor again. I'd hunt down his bandits, then third time would pay for all, and Mayor Alvaron would be well and truly in my debt.
That's the best. I mean, might as well have that attitude, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have much of a choice, so.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I like about him, that, that little bit of a swagger, like, fuck it, I'm just going to fucking go and do this, and I'm going to fucking dominate it.
Yeah, I dig that too.
And especially too, like, what did you come here for? You came here to fucking get this guy to owe you, and what better way to, when this guy is like, third time pays for all, is like, okay, well, it is going to fucking pay for all. Of course, Kvothe blows it up.
His exit is so bad. Like, it's so bad. Like, he fucked himself over so bad. And now he still comes out with a lot of pluses, but man, it would have been so much better.
He was
been
in a position where he
man.
could have been, his right hand man. To his left hand man, basically. Stapes is his right hand man, but he could have replaced Cauticus, and been the mayor's Cauticus, and had unfettered access to go back to the university, finish his education. Go get the information from the on the Emir and the Chandrian, just on all kinds of things unlocked for him if he just fucking keeps his mouth shut.
No money problems, no problems finding information because he's got all the access to private libraries virtually everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, with those, with the mayor's pockets, I mean, and the overall access, it's huge. It would be massive, but. Those filthy Rue, She was right. She was right.
Scumbag Rue. Those Rue, they can't ever fucking just shut their fucking trap and listen to their betters. Always running their mouth, back talking shit.
You know what's really funny about that? With Dedan is a tremendous example of him doing exactly that.
Yeah.
Of controlling himself. And not saying what packaging things in a certain way so this mouth breather will take it in. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's part of what I like so much about these chapters is his ability to kind of mold himself to become a leader, and he's tremendous at it. Does a tremendous job of it.
Yeah, not perfect, but he for the most part he does a really good job. Still makes some stupid little mistakes that don't completely blow up in his face, but for the most part he does a pretty good job. Dedan would be tough to work with.
Yeah, we get that pretty quick.
And actually Hespe would be even worse for me. Just if you were on a job like this and you constantly have to be like, hey, can you go get firewood? Hey, can you fucking do some dishes? Can you clean up after yourself? Can you do something? Do I have to fucking tell you every fucking time?
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's also she comes across as just a really, not always having an actively bad attitude, but just a basically passive bad attitude.
Yeah.
And literally dude, there's only the four of us, or four of us, fucking help out. Or no, five of us. Why do I have to fucking ask you all the time? Plus, I got Tempe, who I don't even know I can communicate with, at least not now. Yeah. So it's he's got a guy that's combative, a chick that won't help. Marten's great, but, it's one guy. They have jobs where people have to do a lot more than that.
It
sounds like she'd be a pain in the ass.
Group projects with someone who's just lazy and they won't do anything unless you tell them to. It's nope. So I can't handle group projects. I'd want to fight people.
I'm real bad with lazy. I don't speak lazy myself. If I'm going to do something, I'm not. Why do it if you're going to be? Well, I guess in her case, it's just a gig. But man, any job I've ever had, the lazy people annoy the piss out of me. And I just hope I don't have to work with them. If I don't have to work with them, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I don't want to hear you complain. You're fucking lazy. I don't want to hear you complain about whatever your bullshit.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. I much prefer jobs where everything is dependent on just me and what I do, and no one else. I'm not working under anyone else that or relying upon anybody else. I hate that shit. It's fucking worst.
Well, one thing that everyone definitely enjoys was when Kvothe describes he can feel himself growing less drunk and more hungover by slow degrees. What a great feeling.
Yeah, that is fun.
I'd never been awake through the entire process before, and it was not pleasant.
It's kind of like going to a sporting event during the day, and then if you stop drinking, oh no, this was a mistake.
My day is over. I was having so much fun. What the hell happened? Yeah. What are we doing drunk as shit in the afternoon? It's what am I supposed to do
unless you're going to stay that way and you're just going to fucking try to ride it out through the day. It's man, I'm just going to eat a ton of food just so I can just keep going until I fall asleep. Because the alternative is I'm going to get the hangover while I'm awake.
terrible. Well, and what I was kind of picturing is it's rare, but the nights where you just literally don't sleep, and then basically dawn hits, and you're like sobering up, like, oh god, and you're like kind of hitting the food place, like Mel's Diner or some shit. It's like, dude, we got to end this. This is not like this is not the night of my life. Like, this has got to end at some point, man. When do we bail on this?
Yeah, those are always fun nights, and you fucking drinking so long the sun comes up, so you go and get breakfast somewhere. What are we doing with our lives?
Well, and then also he gets the realization that he fucked up. Like, he really fucked up. He didn't pack a knife. He didn't have a tinderbox. He doesn't have salt. He has like some of real essential items for what he's set out to do. He's just not prepared.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's tankers out there.
But that's all I got on that chapter.
There was one thing that I did want to mention. So there's a point. Oh yeah. So when he decides he's going to steal his loot, because that's who he is. He's a filthy thieving Roo. He climbs a wall, forces a window, trips 2 locks. It was fairly simple stuff, but given my sleepless, wine-sodden head, probably lucky I didn't fall off the roof and break my neck. But aside from a loose piece of slate that set my heart racing, things went smoothly, and I was back on my way in 20 minutes. I think the roofs have been hearing about his bad attitude.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened here. The slate of the roof is like, fuck this guy, man. I've heard him talking shit. And
you think tile's fucking bad? Having some fucking loose slate, you prick. Hey, you know what? You know who doesn't have a problem with fucking roof tiles and roof slate? People who walk on the fucking ground, you idiot.
Yeah, people who walk on the road. There's not a single time he's up on roofs for like, an innocent. Well, maybe there is. But, yeah. But that was it. That was kind of the last thing I wanted to mention. I thought it was worth it,
Yeah. Tell you, they need that, like, soft, like, kind of indoor track and field type of soft, bouncy type of thing for roofs.
There are quite a few places I've seen in Los Angeles that have AstroTurf roofs, but they're for lounging. It's not for like running across and then jumping across another roof and then jumping across another roof.
All roofs should be specifically set up for people to run across.
The whole world is like Kvothe's world and Godfather and
look. What if you got some thief who's trying to break into places and you got all these loose tiles? He could hurt himself.
We need to make it more conducive to thievery.
Yeah. Got to protect these guys. Hey, everybody likes Kvothe. They want to protect the kid.
Even if he's stealing your shit?
Yeah. It's like, hey, man, he's had a tough life. You just got to deal.
You just got to deal with him taking your stuff. It's part of the game, man. You want a cool character? This is what you get.
Yeah. Come up with better windows. The windows are fine.
Yeah, he's almost got by a few windows, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So the windows even got to be kind of fucking softer and spongy.
Easier.
Yeah.
Like more of a revolving door type situation.
Yeah. No locks. In fact, no windows. Just an open hole in the wall.
Oh, man, this is great. So luxurious. What a luxurious way to climb into
better for me. All the thieves are like, this is much better. This is a way better deal. I haven't hurt myself in months.
You should be a city planner. This is a great way. A city where everyone just thieves off each other. It's all just for thieves. Yeah. They all steal each other's shit.
Everything is designed to make it so that thieves don't hurt themselves when they try to steal your shit.
Nice. No locks on anything. Every car is just push button start.
Yeah.
Right. No key needed. I like it. I wouldn't. Just for the record, I wouldn't live there, but somebody will.
It's not the best place for people who don't want their stuff stolen. But
well, it's really luxurious.
It's a yin and yang situation.
It's really luxurious for the cat burglars.
Hey, look, in the current world, it's not great for the thieves. So in this other alternative world, it's not great for the people who own stuff. So, you give and you take.
Even Steven.
Yeah.
Right? Yin and yang, like you said.
Yeah. Got to balance this shit out.
So humanitarian of you.
Yeah. All right, so chapter 75 is titled The Players, and this chapter he introduces us to Tempe, Marten, Dedan, and Hespe, and also we run into another tinker. Yeah,
it seems well, we've been building to this for some chapters now where we keep hearing about the Adem, and, they're fighting prowess and everything. And it's pretty interesting how we see the Adem through Tempe physically. And it's really cool, man, like, for a reread, how his body language, how he's super awkward. It's funny reading it the first time because you're wondering, like, yeah, what's this dude's deal? Like, is he just disrespectful? Does he can't hold tension? Shit like that. But, it plays into the way that they are and how they're different, why they look at feet and hands instead of looking in your eye, making eye contact. That's basically who he starts with, is talking about Tempe and how, different he is than what he would have expected, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like the way he goes through Tempe throughout. Like, I mean, because on the surface, it doesn't make a lot of sense. He just seems weird. But then when you kind of know the reasons why he's doing the things, then, some of them stand out a lot, but, it starts off with Tempe caught my eye first and held it the longest, as he was the first Adem mercenary I'd ever met. Far from being the imposing, hard-eyed killer I had expected, Tempe was rather nondescript, neither particularly tall nor heavily built. He was fair-skinned with light hair and pale gray eyes. His expression was blank as fresh paper, strangely blank, studiously blank. So obviously, that is just a part of their culture, and they don't show their emotions on their faces. They're doing it through the hand talk. And so you first getting that initial aspect of it is he's just like, dude, this dude is like a stone wall. It's like, no, you just don't understand how he's showing his emotions in a different way. This guy's actually an emotional kind of fucking person. He's a normal person as far as emotions are concerned, and he's not unemotional at all. Like, you see it a lot too, like when, later on they're at the bar and he's with that fucking woman. You see he's got emotions, and he's not like a blank page. It's just that he doesn't wear his emotions on his face. They do it through the hand talk. So it's not the case that he's a blank page at all.
It's one of my favorite cultural things that I personally have come across in a book like this. The idea of just how different they are culturally with communication. They live differently. They value things very differently. They look at sex very differently. It's interesting, and he did a really interesting job of incorporating it and slowly but surely building us to it. I like the studiously blank. His face isn't just blank, it's studiously blank. So it's not that he's just void. He's there. He's just not what you want him to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's present.
Yeah.
Right? If he's studiously blank, he's present. He's just not present like you're used to. Because we all look right at somebody's face to try to read what's going on. And even that in itself stops what they were doing. Because now they're like, oh, this fucking guy looking at me.
Yeah. 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 You get a lot. I mean, you get that aspect of it. Then you get, that he walks with his shirt off. He's not self-conscious about that at all. And so, which would stand against he won't look you in the eye. So you would think that a person won't look you in the eye would be a little bit self-conscious, but he's clearly not self-conscious, at least in that regard. And then you got the the pale scars that crossed his arms and chest and back, which is obviously from the tree, from the leaves from the tree.
There was a couple things. I mean, clearly they're real into belts, all about belts.
Yeah.
Real into belts. There's another moment here. This is another soft saxophone moment where Kvothe's having some trouble here. He's having trouble looking away. He says Tempe's skin was so pale it was almost the color of cream, and his body was lean and sleek as a coursing hound, his muscles shifting under his skin with an animal grace. I tried not to stare, but my eyes couldn't help but pick out the thin, pale scars that cross his arms and chest and back. That's the soft sax is playing, man. He's entranced. He's really, really feeling Tempe.
Yeah. Yeah. Tempe's a hell of a man.
You say he's a man's man? Is that what would you call a man's man?
Yeah, I would think you probably would call Tempe a man's man. Like he's likes to drink and mix it up with the ladies at the bar, beat the shit out of anybody who steps to him.
I love his like how he laughs about fighting, like the laughter he has about it. But the thing that always sticks out for me the most is how much he laughs at the belly button story.
Yeah.
Like how he fucking rolls around on the ground losing his shit and everybody else is just like fucking pissed. Like it's so great, man. I love that. Makes me like his character so much more.
Well, I like the fact that you when he rattles off the things that he seems contradictory. Like he won't look people in the eye, he hardly talks. He's real shifty and fidgety, but then he'll take his shirt off. He'll, mix it up with the barmaids and, drinking and fighting and, that kind of stuff and laughing. But then it's not until you learn why he is the way he is that any of the contradictions make sense.
Well, and with the shirt off type situation, he bathes in front of them.
Yeah.
Like with no hesitation. Which doesn't make sense with somebody that you think is pensive, like the way that he seems. And then also, like his sword, it's not real impressive looking, but he uses it for basically everything. It's kind of, again, that it doesn't fit with your expectations.
Yeah, so he's really different. And then we meet Dedan, who is completely opposite of Tempe in almost every single way. And, Dedan's like this big, burly mercenary type. You think, just the stereotypical mercenary is what you picture with him, just some big, lumbering, and not really an oaf. Like he's not stupid. Kvothe even mentions, like, he's got some wit when he wants to use it, but he's still a bit of a fucking jackass.
You also get, I think, a couple things paint that because we're in Kvothe's position. So Dedan is particularly annoying. And yeah, oafish isn't the right word, but I mean, just fucking close-minded and a know-it-all. And like, it's annoying. It's annoying if you're in the position of Kvothe trying to deal with somebody like this. Because he's always a problem. He's always complaining,
Yeah.
But like you say, when he fights Tempe, you see that there is something more to this dude. He's not just an oafish jackass. Like, he has some tactics and a little bit of skill,
Yeah, and he doesn't act like a little baby after it.
Yeah,
he comes away respecting the dude. But he's not a total like bad guy. It's just he wouldn't be a fun guy to work with. It's like, maybe to hang out with where you don't have any specific tasks that you got to do together. He'd probably be fine.
He'd be a better like if you're working at a company per se, if you're management, this dude's a big pain in the ass. If he's a coworker, not as bad because he hates the manager. He doesn't hate you. You know what I mean? He's still a bitch. He's still a son of a bitch if you're trying to get something done.
Yeah.
Because he's so disruptive. So that's still a problem.
Yeah,
it's
and
a good mix, man. Rothfuss did a good job of mixing this group up,
Yeah, and Hespe is the female mercenary, not as rare a creature as some folk think, in appearance and equipage, she was near mirror of Dedan. While Dedan had an easy manner when his temper wasn't up, Hespe had a vague hardness about her, as if she were constantly expecting someone to give her trouble. Which would make sense if being a female mercenary, she's probably going to be more, going to have like the short man's, disease, like the what do they call it? The or the Napoleon.
Napoleonic complex.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, you can see that. That's why her jaw's always set. It always looks like she's they describe it later when she's at the bar. You look at her from afar, it's like she looks like she's fucking pissed. Like her jaw's always clenched, like she's ready to like smack somebody in the face.
Yeah, like someone's going to talk shit to her.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of Brienne from Game of Thrones.
I was going to say the same thing.
Like that, someone who's had men talking shit to her about who she is for her whole life, so she's on edge and defensive about it now.
Well, and then also, especially in that world, she's like, Brienne is playing a role that is rare. Here it doesn't seem so rare because she's fucking massive and she's like a knight, a woman knight, right?
Yeah.
Here this would be like what I mean. I'm saying it because Kvothe says it. It seems like there's more than just Hespe. It doesn't seem it's not as rare as people think, but
still rare enough that he would even mention it. So it's not like so common that it's not worth mentioning. So it's still obviously rare, but not as rare as a person unfamiliar with mercenaries would think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and
it
then
sounds like she would get along at least physically with a lot of guys that Dedan dates because she has a jaw like a cinder brick.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like quite a few guys that Dedan's dated.
Yeah, brick jaw and her would have some amazing kids.
Yeah, I'm sure it'd be a real interesting mix. That's for sure.
Fucking, it's a fucking baby's got a fucking chin that could cut diamonds.
Comes out, it's all chin.
Yeah,
like that Family Guy character.
Yeah,
William's Houndstooth the Third or something like that. It's just like all. Massive,
then we get
massive chin.
We get Marten was the oldest of us, our tracker. He wore a little leather, softer and better cared for than Dedan or Hespe's. He carried a long knife, a short knife, and a hunter's bow. Marten had worked as a huntsman before falling out of favor with the baronet whose forest he had tended. Mercenary work was a poor job by comparison, but it kept him fed. So he tells him, Marten should have been the one in charge, clearly. But when he tells Marten that, he's like, nah, man, I don't want that fucking job at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting to me. I mean, I get it. It sounds like he's been with this group before, and perhaps he's had to deal with Dedan and Hespe and leading a group, and he's like, fuck that noise.
Yeah.
So it's a relief to not have to be leading, and it sure enough would be, right? He gets to do what he's good at, which is do the tracking.
Yeah. Yeah, leading's not for everybody. So, don't blame him. And then also we get I think we get a clue here with Marten told me they'd done other jobs for the mayor, the most recent of which involves scouting some of the lands around Tenue. So why would they be scouting lands around Tenue? I don't know, but I think that's a clue towards something. Like, I mean, what the hell would the mayor have him be scouting out there? And when you think about the fact that the war, there seems to be a civil war going on, and it seems like it's between the mayor and whoever the king of Inn is now. I think, the mayor has been planning for this, or at least preparing for this.
You think that's what they were doing in Tenue?
I think it has some. I think he's looking for something, some kind of advantage. I don't know if he's, scouting it for, a war, or if he's looking for, a path, a doorway or something into the Fae, or something along those lines, or some sort of power he's heard about, or something to do with that city. But I don't think that's an empty line. I think there's probably some reason why he would be searching out Tenue. I think he's searching for something there, and I think it's more than likely has to do with power. So what else does he want? It seems, even with his Marion Malowin, it's about maintaining his power.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of wondering that myself, but I just kind of let it go. But yeah, it's definitely a worthy question.
So I think it's likely that he's, the reason that's mentioned is it's going to come up in book 3. We're going to find out what he was searching for, having him scout out in Tenue. I just doesn't seem like that would just be like a little throwaway line. It seems like that's going to come back into play.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, then so we get that he says, last was me, their fearless leader. The mayor's letter of introduction has described me as a discerning young man and of good education and diverse useful qualities. While this was perfectly true, it also made me sound like the most wretchedly useless court dandy in existence. Love that description.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he's a discerning man. He's good at education. He's got some diverse qualities. Oh, thanks, man. Really sold me well there. To this fucking group of mercenaries.
Yeah. I was gonna say this group is seeing that, and then seeing him in his clothes with his loot, and just being like, "What the fuck is this kid?
Yeah,
I gotta take orders from this kid? The fuck out of here!"
Writes amazing poetry. Such a good singer. Soft, delicate hands.
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, soft, delicate hands. He's very good at courting women.
Yeah.
So yeah, this doesn't help any of us out here.
Yeah.
What the fuck, man?
Never led a mission before. I don't think he's done a lot of time fighting bandits or hunting bandits. Really good, though. Again, I just want to stress this. Great poet. Really good at writing stuff.
He's tracked. He's studied under what did he say? Studied
Yeoman?
Under somebody once, years ago. Apparently, at some point. Yeah, it's not really the best resume for the job.
But yeah, and then so they come up on the Tinker after that, and I like the introduction here with the Tinker because he's like he made his slow way toward us, singing. If you need no mending and nothing needs tending, a wise man will still see the right time for spending. Enjoy the sunshine, but though you might feel fine, if you don't stop now, you'll be filled with regret. It's better to simply pay and prepare for a rainy day than think of the Tinker when you're dripping wet. Because that's exactly what happens to him, is that the rain is going to be a significant factor towards the end. And he does regret not getting the wax for his boots. Like his feet are soaked the entire time it's raining. But the fact that he's mentioning that, and the rainy day and you're dripping wet and that kind of shit, and he tries to sell him stuff which would have helped keep his feet dry, I think, it significantly points towards Tinkers having some kind of a knack or magical ability.
It's a tremendous sales technique. I mean, if they do have that knack and know the future, they should constantly be getting sales. But obviously, not everybody listens. Kvothe doesn't listen multiple times.
It's well enough known where, like, when Kvothe mentions that he didn't buy something from a Tinker, and Deno's like, you know better than that.
Yeah.
And so it's part of their lore.
Yeah. It's again one of those funny things that he knows. He mentions it. We know he knows it. He still ignores it.
It's you would think, like, all right, after the first time, be like, okay, fool me once, and then the second time, again, he doesn't take him up on the offer, doesn't get and he sees both times that had he listened to Tinker, he would have been better off. Even, whatever he thought was the best decision, he would have been better off just listening to the Tinker. And so you would think, like, after that second time, he'd be like, man, all right, this is not happening a third time, but he doesn't even think to it. He doesn't even think about it.
No. Yeah.
Maybe if he comes across a Tinker the next time, he will.
It seems like he just gets into negotiation mode as part of it. You know what I mean? And he just gets caught up in that.
He dismisses things as storybook, and even though he's seen magic and he's seen crazy magic, he still dismisses things as fanciful nonsense, or myths or rumors or superstitions. He doesn't actually believe it, and even this should be one that he should start questioning whether it's the stories about the Tinkers have some truth to it, because twice it's came back to bite him in the ass.
Yeah, you would think after a while he would start to get clued in, but I mean, it's the part of what makes a story work is you want him to do something, he doesn't do it, and you get a little bit frustrated. That makes stories work because it increases the tension for the reader. But yeah, it's a bit he's closed-minded, in many ways.
Yeah, so he gets from him, he gets the salt and the box to put it in, and he also gets a knife. And one of the aspects that I think is interesting about the knife is he hands it to him, says it's Ramsden steel, and then he's like, I don't need anything that fine. I said, handing it back, I'll be putting it to everyday use, eating mostly. Ramstone's fine for everyday use, the tinker said, pushing it back into my hands. You can use it to trim kindling, then shave with it if you like. Keeps an edge forever. I might have to put it to hard use, I clarified. Ramsden's brittle. There is that, the tinker admitted easily. As my father always used to say, the best knife you'll ever have until it breaks. But the same could be said of any knife. And truth be told, that's the only knife I have. The fact that his alar is described like a blade of Ramsden steel, and that line stands out significantly, especially when he tries to use sympathy and he's unable to do it.
Yeah, I agree. That seems significant.
It sounds like that there's going to be something that breaks with his alar. That could be part of it is just like the changing his name causes him to not have access to that kind of information anymore. Like he doesn't have access to it, like all the time that he spent on learning the alar and learning how to put his mind in that kind of state as a kid. Like when he changed his name, it fundamentally changed him where he no longer had that. Like you lost all the muscle memory, you lost all the ability to use your alar, because you're a totally different person who didn't live those experiences. So it could be something as simple as that, where if he just practiced alar again, he could gain the talent back, but it would take time. But it could also be that just something's just broken. There's something fundamentally changed that he doesn't have access to it anymore. But the fact that they describe his alar as like a blade of Ramsden steel and he can't use magic right now, or seemingly can't use magic right now, then it makes me think that something's going to happen with his alar specifically.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's kind of hard to envision for me. I mean, I guess I would just be accepting something happens and he then can't access it. The idea of it breaking, you would think it'd be like in a moment, right? It'd be in like a high tense, like him and Devi going back and forth, and then his alar breaks and he fails.
I would think it would have to do with something like shaping, and something fundamentally changes, or like because the alar is associated with the mind, and so there's like you got when the Chandrian shit happened, he hid his mind behind the doors of sleep, where you could see something like he uses sympathy, he uses his alar to do something just terrible, and he regrets it, but when he does it in such a state of anger, it just like something breaks in his mind, and he can't put his mind back together. There's obviously a large portion of this book is like his mind breaks. There's a fundamental break when his family is wiped out. Yeah, so it could be something similar. Something happens to traumatic happens to him, breaks his mind. Yeah, and like we see it with like the people in the rookery, or Ari. There are people that are cracked. Something happens to them, to their mind.
Yeah,
that changes them. And so it could be the same thing with the Alar, that there's something that snaps where now as Alar doesn't work.
Yeah, I get the insinuations clearly there with the connection when they describe his Alar as like Ramson steel. It's significant. Why else point out that it's brittle and it breaks? Right? Why put that in? Why have that back and forth here about the knife?
Yeah, so that's just kind of something I'm looking at. Is I think there will be a moment where it's clear that his Alar breaks for whatever reason. I don't know how he's going to get there, but I think something will happen where it breaks. I'd be surprised if it doesn't happen, just because of how much that sticks out. But then he gets the knife from him, and then he hears about a story of a guy, slitting his wrist to be able to write a note, which just seems like a stupid way. Like, even if you need blood, you don't need to like slit your veins open. You just like prick your finger. It seems to be a much less dramatic way to write a note with blood.
Well, what if he was writing a long note? I guess he needed to prick his vein and get a whole steady supply.
Keep re-poking that hole in your finger. It'll keep bleeding. But yeah, so then he thinks of Denna, and he ends up, he's like, I had left without a word, or after our terrible fight, what would she think if I spoke so cruelly to her, then simply disappeared? And he thinks about like, well, she dips out, so
yeah,
But here's the thing: like, with most people, the things they're really bad about are the things that they are the most unwilling to accept in other people.
Yeah.
And like, so typically, like if someone is late all the time, but then you're late to something that for them, where it inconveniences them, and they'll have a bigger problem with it than, than they should. They should be more understanding, but that's almost never the case with people. People are not like that. Yeah, so I would be surprised if Denna was just like, oh, well, sometimes, I dip out on him, so I should understand that he, we got in a big fight and then he just left town. I don't think that would be her mindset.
She does also feel bad about it. She acknowledges a number of times when they're kind of, when they go much further in conversation than some of their more cursory conversations, where she admits, I just leave. And, she shows some remorse for that.
Yeah, I'm sure she feels remorse when she does it. I'm saying that when it happens to her, I don't think she's as understanding.
No, I would see that as well, especially when
after a big blow up fight too.
Yeah, and especially with Kvothe, in terms of she seems to depend on him to a great degree to be like some sort of form of stability for her, and that would shake things up. Which, yeah, I agree. I think she would. It would be upsetting.
And I'm also curious whether, because she doesn't get this note that he writes. He ends up, when he goes back into town and he goes to check and see if she's there, the note is still there and it's not been opened. So she obviously doesn't get the note. I'm curious whether that means that she dipped out too after the fight. So she may not even be thinking anything of Kvothe doing it. She might think she did that to Kvothe, that she just dipped out. It could be the case that, she doesn't stick around after either in Severin, that she left at the same time Kvothe did. But I don't know. There's not any information. But the fact that she doesn't read the note points in that direction, that she leaves, or, she at least left the place she was staying at.
Yeah, yeah. When I guess, I don't remember, because I forgot that she never got the note. I can't remember how much they talk about what he's been up to, like how long he's been gone, all these places he went, or any of that. I don't remember if that gets revisited, or if they just fall right back where they were, like sort of back where they were. I don't really remember.
Yeah, they don't really talk about their split. They kind of ignore that, but and they get back together and they kind of are, partially slide back into place a little bit, but there's some distance between them and there's some awkwardness. So it's not the same. It's definitely not the same. There's hints of it like, oh, I could go back, but then, something else happens. There's definitely something has dramatically changed in their relationship. It's not going to be the same after that.
Yeah, I do remember that feeling because that chapter does definitely set a tone that lasts throughout for sure. I remember that feeling. So, yeah, if I were them, I wouldn't acknowledge it either. I wouldn't talk about it. I'd just move on, act like it never happened.
Yeah, it's the healthy thing to do.
Yeah,
it doesn't. Doesn't seem like that's probably the best thing for them. I think that's the route they go, but clearly not talking has not been, going gangbusters for him so far.
It's been problematic that he can't be honest, she can't be honest. So yeah, what's eventually going to happen? What just happened? Although the story is a big problem there, but he can't tell her why. So.
But so he ends up with this tinker. He gets the knife and gets some papers and pen and the tinderbox and all that kind of good stuff. And then the tinker tells him it's going to cost 30 bits, 30 silver bits, and that's a third of the money that the mayor gave him. And so he makes a deal. He's like, now I can tell that's too much for your comfort, he said, and I hope you don't think me too forward in saying this, but that is a rather fine cloak you're wearing. I'm always willing to make a fellow a trade. Like, that definitely did not happen. That's 100% proof that Kvothe is an unreliable narrator. That is just pure bullshit. He just made that up. The tinker might have said, that stupid looking cloak that I like that fabric and I could turn it into like a nice jacket or something normal and cool.
Every tinker in this story, I believe, has a cloak.
No, that's according to Kvothe. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah,
he's an unreliable narrator.
I'm still sticking with it's Rothfuss that's trying to shove the cloak down our throats. He wants cloaks to be cool. He wants them to make their way into the world.
But even Rothfuss, yeah, he's trying to do that, but subconsciously he knows that it's wrong. And so he subconsciously writes it in there that Kvothe is an unreliable narrator. He's probably not going to explicitly tell you that, but you can pick it up through if you're paying attention, you're doing a close reread, you can pick that stuff up. Because that clearly did not happen. No one says that. No one would say that's a rather fine cloak you're wearing. He looks like a big old dork. That is definitely not what the tinker said to him. 100%. No way. No chance. But
is that kind of like the idea that someone once told you, hey, those are cool Crocs?
Yeah.
No one's ever said that?
Yeah, no one's talking about how cool your Crocs are. It's like, hey man, I'm really digging the Crocs and the carpenter shorts. Like, super cool looking. All those pockets, man. You're just like crushing it.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, he does say, whoa, all sorts of pockets.
Yeah,
it's got all sorts of little pockets.
That line's a dead giveaway. That line's a dead giveaway that Kvothe is making this up.
The tinker ran his hands over my beautiful cloak. It's got all sorts of little pockets, he said admiringly. That's just lovely. Yeah, it's a little heavy-handed, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, oh, wow, this tinker sounds exactly like you. It's weird because like everybody else has these distinct personalities and they seem like different people, but this tinker sounds exactly like you do.
You know what? Actually, I really like that. Now that I think about it further, I like the idea that Kvothe, the character himself, one of his main objectives is making cloaks cool.
Yeah.
And he's doing it through his autobiography.
Yeah.
He's doing it through this story.
Yeah, if I don't care what I gotta fucking do, cloaks are gonna they're gonna look at stop making fun of my cloaks. What has happened is all through this whole story, in real life, everybody has been laughing at him and making fun of his cloak. And he's like, fuck that. When the story is told about me, they're going to tell about the badass cloaks and how cool I looked.
So he had a green one from Fellow. This one's burgundy. I'm thinking in his mind, there's going to be a Kvothe cloak, right? Just like the, what is it? The cloak of no certain color?
No particular color.
Yeah. It's going to be like that, but it's going to be a particular color. And there's going to be like a Jordan symbol, but Kvothe.
He's got the shadow cloak.
Looks like. Yeah, I know he's got the shadow cloak, but what I'm saying is, you can buy a pair of Jordans and they have Jordan Jumpman. You got Kvothe, jumping from roof to roof? I don't know what his symbol would be, but something.
That's gonna be obviously there's the part where Ambrose kicks in the door and throws in his loot. And,
he's got the
turn
loot
that
up.
frown upside down, that kind of stuff. Obviously, that's how it ends. But before that, like Kvothe goes up and he gets his cloak and he comes down and he's like, "Look, guys, I just wanted to show you what I've been talking about how dashing I looked in my cloak." And as soon as he comes out in the cloak, both Bast and Chronicler just start dying laughing. They just start dying laughing. They're like rolling over, and he just gets real super sad.
Is that how he became Kote?
Yeah.
And that's why he calls himself Kote, because it's close.
That's the truth. That's probably one of the biggest things that really breaks him up. It's not losing everybody or breaking the world. It's just the constant harassment that he's received for being a nerd wearing a cloak. Like everybody making fun of him. So, oh, fine. I'll wear a coat instead of a cloak. I'll make everybody happy. Well, just call me Kote from now on.
That's where it all derives from. And you know what? And he can't. And so that's not him. He's Cloak. That's what he is.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's not wearing one, he's Mr.
He did what Elodin said not to. Finally, everybody got to him, and he's like, "Fine, call me Kote then." As soon as he said that, it renamed him, destroyed all his powers.
Yeah, he's denying who he is. He has to own the nerdiness, man.
Yeah, he has to just own it. He's never been able to own it. He's always been looking for that approval, and he couldn't take the laughs.
I mean,
especially Denna, especially your woman, and she was just cracking up every time she saw him. That's the truth, and why that's the missing piece. Why their relationship is so frustrating. Like, he keeps leaving out that she's laughing her ass off at his cloak every time she sees him, and
she's insinuating.
That's definitely going to make it hard for you to ask her out when every time she sees you, she's just dying laughing and pointing at you.
He probably left out a story about she got him this great loot case. She probably got him a real nice jacket at one point, maybe even a duster, and he was just like, "No, I wear cloaks." And she's been trying to get him to stop wearing the cloak, but he won't do it. So that's the thing that's between them. And I think what eventually happens is they get close again. They do have another fight, and she finally just says, "I fucking hate your cloak. It's so nerdy looking. If it just wasn't for that, I would be with you." And he can't. That's
the final straw. Is she gets him a duster, and she goes to put it on him, and he's like, "Whoa, what are you doing? I have a magic cloak." She's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Just wear it under the duster, for God's sakes. Just put it in the lining, man. Something. I can't walk around with you as my dude. I can walk around with you as a friend with your duster, me, but
wear a duster.
Yeah, I think that's it, man. That's what's between them. And Kvothe just doesn't want to admit it, so he leaves all of that out, right?
And
this is what we get.
We always come up with some good stuff. We always figure this shit out. It's always in there. I mean, it's definitely in there. Why Kote? Now it's clear why Kote.
This is totally in the subtext, 100%. And I love, this whole time, Kvothe is just spinning the story.
Yeah.
Of course. And a lot of people have said that. I haven't heard them get this specific about the cloak, though.
Now, a lot of
I
people
think that's
talk about the
sticking
Tinker.
point.
They miss the part that the Tinker sounds very suspiciously a lot like Kvothe.
He's not only is he, oh, this is beautiful. Look at the fabric. And he even goes as far as all these pockets. Oh, I mean, that's just lovely. Who would have thought to do this?
It's classic. And so then so he writes his letter to Denna, and he goes to a pretty dark-haired woman by the name of Denna. She's staying at the Four Tapers in Severn Low. That reminds me, he exclaimed as he tucked the letter into a pocket. Candles. He reached into a saddlebag and pulled out a handful of fat tallow tapers. Everyone needs candles. Funny thing was, I could use some, though not for the reasons he thought. He probably did know. He probably knew exactly why he needed candles. Because these tinkers seem to fucking know.
Yeah, why did he need candles, though?
To make them vomit.
Oh, yeah, all right.
But then he's like, he also offers him the rubbing wax for your boots. He continued rooting through his bundles. We get fierce rain this time of year. I held up my hands laughing. I'll give you a bit for 4 candles, but I can't afford any more. If this keeps up, I'll have to buy your donkey just to carry the lot with me. I can't imagine that. Yeah, it's a horrible, terrible joke. And especially when it's like, hey, dude, you're talking about little wax. What do you mean? This probably weighs like a quarter of an ounce.
It's a 10. It's probably it's probably like a pomade 10.
Yeah.
My feeling is, and this happens, he covers some of his biggest mistakes with really stupid jokes.
Yeah.
Like oh, one more thing. I can't. Well, no. One more thing. I'll have to get a donkey.
You should also take this feather. Oh, yeah, you give me a feather, and I might as well have to buy a fucking horse and carriage to carry it in. Like what?
No.
Doesn't seem like what he offered you was like he's like one more thing, and it didn't seem like a big thing. I don't know.
Yeah, the wax for one's boots would not be a bucket. It's going to be a small 10. It's like shoe polish.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little small thing that you'll put in one of those pockets, although I guess he just gave up some of his pockets. But he's got a freaking travel sack. It's no big deal. But yeah, like I said, he covers his stupidest mistakes with stupid fucking jokes.
Yeah.
That's something he tends to do as well.
That is it for me on 75.
I think, I think so.
All right, so chapter 76, titled Tinder, and in this chapter, he kind of gets to know them a little bit, and then when he goes to start a fire and gets into a little argument with Dedan over it, he uses magic and scares the shit out of everybody.
Yeah, I didn't think this the title fit at all. I thought he was gonna find chicks on Tinder.
Yeah.
It's
even spelled like Tinder.
Yeah.
What else could that mean?
It's confusing. Yeah.
They don't even have smartphones. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. And how do you start a fire with Tinder?
Well,
unless you're dating, you're just looking to hook up with psychopaths?
Yeah, it's you know what? That's a really
there's
good
an arsonist
name.
section.
I was gonna say this is a really
Tinder.
It's a really good. It's already been taken, but a really good name for a dating app for arsonists.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so good. Or what's the name for people that are all into fire? I can't think of
Pyromaniac.
I mean, pyromaniac, but I mean they're probably also arsonists, right? But a little bit of both. But yeah.
But yeah, so it starts off with, they're making their camp and on the second night, and says, without being asked, Tempe picked up a branch and used his sword to shape thin strips of dry wood to use for tinder. Again, that doesn't make any sense, but unsheathed, his sword still didn't seem terribly impressive. But given how easily it was peeling away paper-thin strips of wood, it must have been sharp as a shaving razor. And I like the aspect of, you see him just using the sword just for like everyday shit. You know, this seems like this dude would be using his sword to like clean under his fingernails, whereas like Kvothe is looking at it like, dude, what are you doing? That's not what you use a sword for. He's like, what are you talking about? It's sharp. It cuts things. Why would I not use it to cut things?
Yeah. Yeah, it's well, and then we end up finding out about the ADEM. It is like it's something that they use for virtually everything. It's always with them, right? You like virtually never are without your sword, right?
Yeah, Kvothe is looking at a sword as like a killing machine, and they're looking at it as like an all-purpose tool. Like,
yeah, I guess that's kind of funny. So now I'm picturing he's using a revolver to to cut wood. It's like, what are you doing? Like, that'd be a more practical reason for Kvothe to have that perspective rather than, dude, it's a sharp thing. I get the impression Tempe doesn't carry a bunch of stuff either.
He's like,
you know, all those pockets in his cloak.
He uses a revolver and like pops open the thing and like where the bullets go. He's like just like stuffing little like pieces of bologna and
it's like a
little
Swiss
baby
Army
carrots. Knife. Yeah, he's putting like baby carrots in there. Like that's where he just like stores food for later.
You might, you know what? You could fit a little tube of wax for your boots in there.
Yeah,
it'd be like a chapstick tube. That would probably work too.
Yeah, so you'd find a lot of uses for a revolver that you wouldn't expect.
This completely changes the way I think about a revolver now. I could see like little packs of raisins.
Yeah,
you know, there's all kinds of things you could keep in there. Like
pull it out,
clipper.
Like you just like pull out your revolver in the middle of like a food court. You're like, what the fuck? Like you're just pulling out baby carrots out of the fucking.
Oh no, it's fine. You have it at the movies.
No. It's my lunchbox.
Keep M&Ms in the barrel.
I get it. You see revolvers as like a weapon, and no, it's a lunchbox too.
Perfect for movies, man. You keep M&Ms in the barrel. You know, you have like some toothpicks in one of the one of the shafts there. Yeah, I like it. This is really practical.
Yeah, and and then I like he's arranging the the firewood, getting it in order, and Dedan comes up and he's like, it's like, and you're in charge, wonderful, and does it where he tries to say it under his breath, but says it loud enough so everybody can hear it, and comes in just completely mockingly. He's like, boys making a little wooden fort, not a fire. Dedan sighed dramatically, then assumed a tone he probably thought was fatherly, but came across as profoundly condescending. Here, I'll help you out. A spark will never catch on that. Do you have a flint and steel? I'll show you how to use them. Be like, oh man, dude.
I like the whole thing. I like quite a bit because the way he describes him building the fire, the reason why he said he's made a mistake, I think is also because he freaks him out. But yeah, the way it sounds like he's building the fire, that's not really the way to do it. You don't get it all tight like that. Doesn't matter for him because of how he's gonna light the fire. But also, I love and he mentions that a number of times about Dedan, where it's like he's gonna say something and he acts like he's not speaking to you, like he's speaking privately, but it's fucking loud enough for everybody to hear.
Yeah,
that condescending fucking asshole approach really would not work with me. I'd have problems from the get-go with this guy.
Yeah, and Kvothe mentions like no one enjoys being talked down to, but I have a particular aversion to it. It's like, yeah, I think most people do. I don't know anybody who takes it well. But then, Dedan had been making it clear for 2 days that he thought I was an idiot. I gave a tired sigh, my oldest, most world-weary sigh. That was how I needed to play it. He thought of me as young and useless. I needed to drive home the point that I was nothing of the sort. Dedan, I asked, what do you know of me? And then he's like, look, do you think the mayor's an idiot? Do you think the mayor would have fucking put me in charge if I was some simpleton and can't even fucking start a fire? And he's like, oh, no. It's like, no, don't fucking thing. You know, I know what you're saying and all that shit. You just need to fucking realize who I am and what I am. And then fucking lights the fire with fucking magic and scares the living shit out of all of them.
Yeah, does it dramatically, and then gets a realization real quick where it's like, oh yeah, not only is it impressive, you're freaking everybody out at this point. But it does work in the sense that, well, now they're gonna fear him, right? Which
I would too. If
yeah.
I'm hanging out with someone and they're like, look, dude, not only can I start a fire, watch this, and then boom, he starts a fire with his mind. And you're like, I don't want to hang out with this guy.
Well, and it also, it creates that perception in their minds towards him. Like later when they're like, well, what do we do if you get captured? And he's like, oh, I'll just kill them all. Then I'll find you after.
Yeah.
And nobody says anything. So they're like, oh shit, they are really scared of me.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, it's better. Like, they're not all going to be chummy with him anyway, although it gets a little bit like that in the next chapter, at least to some degree, I would say, with Marten. But, I like it because it's already a complicated situation, and he's trying to handle it in the best way he can. Not the best way. What he does wouldn't be the best way, but
it's funny though. He mentions whenever he does magic in front of people, he keeps mentioning. He's like, but the time I spent at the university made me jaded. Starting a fire like this was as simple as putting on your boots for a member of the Arcanum. It's like, okay, yeah, but when you did magic in front of Denna, and she was like, holy shit, and then
why do you keep forgetting?
The mayor fucking reacted like that, and now you did it from there. Like at some point, you got to be like. I get that you're jaded, but you keep doing this.
Yeah. Well, it speaks to what we just talked about a moment ago as well.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how many times is it going to take for you, bro?
Yeah.
Again, he's a kid. I get that. But I like the little callback here when they're freaked out by him. They're like, I was one of those. I meddled with dark powers. I summoned demons. I ate the entire little cheese, including the rind.
Yeah. Barbarian.
That's it's a cool little thing to throw in there because it's like, I don't belong with them because that's what happened in that situation. It's a nice, that's a great callback. I like that, that sort of thing a lot.
Yeah, I like that too. Where he's like, so instead I sighed and began to set up my sleeping roll for the night. While there wasn't much cheerful conversation around the fire that night, there wasn't any muttering from Dedan either. I'd like respect, but failing that, a little healthy fear can go a long way to make things run smoothly. I mean, it wasn't his purpose, but he does get some benefit out of that. I mean, to an extent. Eventually, that fear starts to dwindle, and Dedan's annoyance with him, grows the more uncomfortable their environment gets.
Yeah.
But for a little bit, it, at least shut Dedan up a little bit.
Yeah, and he sounds like a mob boss. That line, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'd prefer to be respected, but I'll take fear. I mean, and that's what typically happens. If you're not going to get respect, well, then fear. How else are you going to remain powerful? I do it one way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and then the next part, he goes and he tries to have a conversation with Tempe, and so he's trying to get him to talk because Tempe's been so tight-lipped, and he's like, hello, Tempe. He looked up and nodded. Hello. For a second, I caught a glimpse of his pale gray eyes. Then he looked away, shifting restlessly. So today I had a conversational gambit. I've heard stories about the Lethani, I said. I would like to know more. Would you tell me about it? Tempe's pale eyes touched mine briefly, his expression still blank. Then he looked away again. He tugged one of the red leather straps that held his shirt close to his body and fidgeted with his sleeve. No, I will not speak on the Lethani. It is not for you. Do not ask. He looked away from me again, down at the ground. I counted in my head 16 words. That answered one of my questions at least. So, he's doing the hand gestures there again. He's not looking him in the eye, but it's because he's looking at Kvothe's hand. He's looking to see if he's looking for Kvothe to be signing his emotions. He's not able to break that habit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but Kvothe just sees him as being, fidgety and uncomfortable.
It's a short chapter. I like it a lot because like the way it ends as well. It's like, well, at least I got him to talk.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't successful. But the same thing with Dedan. It's like, well, at least I shut his ass up. Wasn't what I wanted. Wasn't successful. But that carries throughout the whole thing, and it's still keeping the complexities of their relationships. And on a second read or on a reread, when you read that about Tempe, you're like, oh yeah, it was difficult at first because Tempe's like, nah, and that was what he was supposed to do. You're not supposed to teach somebody. So Tempe ends up, we find out he's a bit of a rebel.
Yeah, he's not supposed to teach that. He's not fidgety or any of that kind of shit. It's that he is signing his emotions, and then also he struggles with the language. So that is another problem. We find out Tempe's kind of a dum-dum in their circles. He's not the smartest bulb in the box.
Yeah, it's interesting to find out he's also, because he beats the shit out of groups. You're like, this dude's fucking lethal.
Yeah.
And then to find out he's on like the lowest rung for their society. Yeah. He's not even that good a fighter. You're like, what the fuck? Like, so these people are ridiculous.
They treat him like he's like, they get there and it's like, hold on, so he's Millhouse?
Yeah. This guy's like a trainee? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, shit. Yeah, that's impressive. It's cool too. I mean, like I know I mentioned this before. It'll come up a lot as we deal with Tempe, but their differences in culture are fascinating to me. And like, this is maybe part of the biggest reason why, to me, when people say book one's way better than two, and they have their reasons, this is part of what to me makes book two so that much more enjoyable to me, is that it just builds out the world in such a big way. And having this culture and knowing small details of the culture and how detailed Rothfuss thought it out in terms of their methods of communication, how they think about things, what their history is, their mythology, what they value, how they live. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, and I like this whole set of chapters. I know it's probably one of the parts that isn't a lot of people's favorite, but I like it a lot because of the different cultures that you get and the mix of the interactions between Tempe, and then also, you got the Hespe and her personality and her difference being the female mercenary. So you're getting Dedan, you're getting like some of the common man experience, or, the mercenary types, the bruising types, and you got a guy like Marten so you get these different personalities, these different you're just learning more about the people of the world through them. Because for the most part, we're meeting, his parents are pretty sophisticated, and then we go and we're seeing people that are pretty sophisticated at the university. Then he goes and is pretty sophisticated with the mayor. So he's running in some pretty high circles, and this is more like just kind of the more average Joe, the blue collar types.
It feels more like the guys at the Waystone.
Yeah,
it feels more like, and it again, that's what I think so great about these couple chapters is it's people feeling each other out. It's the initiation process. So you're gonna look at things in generalities and those expectations and whatnot. So it's really cool how that plays out. Because it's realistic.
And it's also funny, too, because when Kvothe is around all the sophisticated people, they look at him like he's a bum. And then when he's hanging out with, Dedan's looking at him like he's some fucking rich kid, some spoiled little rich brat, like some noble's kid. And like, how would you know about Rennellwood? It's like, what the fuck makes you think I'm like some noble's kid?
I think Marten actually says that, which that's interesting. Well, and it actually makes some sense because he's in the mayor's circle and he's dressed this way. So apparently he's this rich kid, and they totally miscast him because his whole life he's not been that person.
Yeah.
And then talk about switching it all around. He goes to Adem and he's a savage. He has zero sophistication.
It's a funny dynamic that he put in because of how much Kvothe hates the nobility, and the and the rich people. Like he's got a lot of disdain for most of those people in that upper echelon, and so to be in that position where he is being judged in that same exact way, and not really getting it, like having to be like, no, I'm not like that, guys. I'm telling you, I'm like one of you. Sure you are. This fucking rich kid. He's had a silver spoon in his mouth his whole life.
That's a funny one too, for somebody to be like, oh, okay, prove it.
Yeah.
And he's lighting fires and shit. Like, dude, at that point, it's like, well, I don't know what to think of this fucking kid. But yeah, it's interesting you bring that up too, because it wears thin. That fear that gets created wears thin when Dedan, when they're all on the road and they're sick and, it's raining nonstop. All that wears thin because it's just like, I fucking hate this.
Yeah.
So, and you're the source of the problem, because we could go be in an inn or something. We could go do this other shit.
But yeah. And we got chapter 77, which is titled Pennysworth. And in this chapter, they head to the Pennysworth Inn. And Kvothe acts like a super Mac. And really does a really good job with the ladies, and does a really good job handling his crew.
It's great, man. I love the atmosphere here. Maybe one of my favorite characters in the book, Losi. She's great. I'm a big fan. And it's pretty great. His handling of Dedan and everything. I mean, we can go through it, but I like this chapter a lot. It's pretty great.
Yeah, it's it's really good. Like, I like just the aspect too, where he's like, Dedan took a deep breath. Can you smell that? I tell you, there's a woman in this place could cook stone and make me beg for more. Sweet Peg. By these hands, I hope she's still around. He made a curving gesture showing the double meaning of his words as he nudged Marten with an elbow. Hespe's eyes narrowed as she stared at the back of Dedan's head. Oblivious, Dedan continued, Tonight I'll sleep with a belly full of lamb and brandy, although a little less sleeping might prove a little more entertaining if my last trip was any indication. I was the storm brewing. I saw the storm brewing on Hespe's face and spoke up quickly. Whatever's in the pot and a bunk for each of us, I said firmly. Anything else comes out of your own pocket. But I love that, like, just Hespe's just smoldering anger at Dedan as he's sitting there talking about fucking hooking up with some women at this place. Fucking cracks me up. Just that whole aspect of their relationship.
Yeah, I love his obliviousness to it. It's also funny, like the stereotype he hits where he's like, does the curving gesture. Like, I always picture like he whistles as he does it and then has to elbow Marten. Like, huh? You got it? Yeah, we get it. You get it. I get what you're saying. Jesus.
Boobs and butt.
Did you see what I did with the curving?
Like the curves, that was boobs and butt. It's like, yeah, I got it, man. Real smooth. I like too that Tempe fidgeted, his expression unreadable as ever. Avoiding my eyes, he glanced at everyone in turn, his expression blank. His eyes moved not from face to face, but at Dedan's hands, then Dedan's feet, then Marten's feet, then Hespe's, then mine. He shifted his weight and moved a half step closer to Dedan. See, what I like about that is you don't have any idea what he's doing there, but once you learn about their culture, you realize like he's stepping up to Dedan in preparation for a fight, and he wants to be close to him because he respects him as a legitimate threat. If he felt he was no threat, he wouldn't stand close to him, and he would let the guy be able to get a full punch off on him. But because he does respect him at least enough, he gets close to him and he's getting ready for a fucking fight to break out.
Yeah, that's great. I really like these reiterations of Kvothe being the responsible leader. You know? Like he had opportunities with the tender to spend more money. He didn't. He has an opportunity here to please, the people he's with and spend some money. He's like, no, we don't have enough. So unless you're gonna pony up dough as we're on the road, then it's up to you. What you get to do up in the Pennysworth is on your dime. And then he goes even further to please the group. Sorry, I was going to say, hoping to dispel the tension, I softened my tone and said, "After everything is done, we'll split what's left of the purse. That way, each of us will have a little extra in our pocket before we get back to Severin, and we can each spin our lots as we want to then." Which is, I mean, fuck, man, that's as fair as you can hope for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and he ends up hooking him up at the end. But
yeah.
Then when they get in there, I love then I sat down, bone weary and wondering what I could do to get Dedan to stop acting like such a little swagger cock. I love that that insult. It's one of my favorite insults in any book I've read. Just a little fucking little swagger cock.
You know what's really
so
funny? Great. What's really funny is I was making my notes and I made a note about how Kvothe hits him with, food in bed. The rest comes out of your pocket, and I put on there swagger cock. And then the next page, he's calling him a swagger cock, which is pretty funny that Kvothe is now using this term.
Yeah,
and it is great. So more than anything else, if Kvothe wants to get something or Rothfuss wants to integrate something into our world, I like swagger cock. It's good.
Yeah,
good
stuff.
Swagger
cock's one of my favorite insults.
Yeah, he's getting a little penisy, getting a little cocky.
Getting a little penisy. And then old Losi comes up to him. I looked up or is this Losi? I don't remember if this one's Losi. Yeah, Losi's the redhead, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so then he's like, I looked up to see a woman's face and well-advertised bosom framed by a tumble of bright red curls. Her skin was white as cream with just the barest hint of freckle. Her lips a pale, dangerous pink. Her eyes bright, dangerous green. Again, I don't understand this obsession with normalizing gingers.
They exist, Dan. They do exist.
Yeah, but you don't have to act like that is normal, and it should be accepted.
The dangerous pink and the dangerous green definitely brings to mind situations in my past where it's like, oh shit, this could be trouble.
Yeah,
this could be some real trouble here, and But it's kind of weird for him.
And you would have, but in the end, when she started fucking flirting with you, you would have fucking folded like a fucking cheap chair, just like Kvothe.
Fuck out of here. No, it brings to mind. I remember hanging out at this bar with a couple friends, and this chick comes over, asks my friend to dance with her, and then he's like, "Oh, you should go dance with her." And she was hot, and I remember we were really quite inebriated, and my thing to him was like, "Dude, we do this, like, this could be a problem." And he didn't understand at all what I was talking about. I was like, man, I just have a feeling you guys are going to leave, and I'm not going to leave because I'm going to go with her because that's going to be my goal now. That's what I'm trying to help you to understand. And sure enough, I fucking woke up in a playground like 8 miles away from where I was supposed to be the next morning. So I was right. And that was dangerous. The dangerous red-dressed. I think she was Latin. I don't really remember, man. I was really drunk. But yeah, that's what comes to mind when I think dangerous. Yeah, that dangerous look. But yeah, my buddy did not see the danger, and I did. And I did not communicate it clearly. But it doesn't matter. What would have happened? Yeah,
Kvothe basically does the same thing. He's
that's not what he does at all.
It looked like you were almost sleeping in your seat. I nearly was. A long day and a long road. That's a shame indeed, she said with playful regret as she rubbed the back of her neck. If I thought you'd still be on your feet in an hour, I'd take you off them. She reached out and twined her fingers lightly through the hair on the back of my head. The two of us would be enough to start a fire. I froze like startled deer. I cannot say why, except perhaps that I was tired from several days on the road. Perhaps it was that I had never been approached in such a forthright manner before. Perhaps I was young and willfully inexperienced. Let us leave it at that. And then they all laugh at him.
I was going to say, there's a couple things there, like the freezing like a startled deer. I remember that age. I don't know how old he is here, but it was like 15.
Yeah.
I remember being of an age where a woman would be forward with me and I froze the fuck up. There was an age where I was like that, and it was such a terrible feeling because like this is exactly what I want. But I don't know. It's just that fucking weird nerves of being a.
I was knocking it out of the park from day one.
Get the fuck. There's something. I mean, those feelings when people are like, oh, to be young again. That shit I would hate to relive. That awkward fucking don't know what your body's doing. I fucking hated that shit.
Well, it's such a different experience too because like you're especially when you're young, like the idea of a woman being extremely aggressive, it just is so fucking rare.
It's extraordinarily rare. So to have it happen when you're still inexperienced and you don't know what to do next, that's what I'm talking about. And that's like what's so well. And then so the other part that came up for me, if I'm in Kvothe's seat, I'm a little suspicious. Like I'm feeling like cable guys happening here. You know, like Dedan sent her over. Someone paid this. Like what's going on here? Like she's coming on to me like this. But apparently Kvothe's got he's got those magic hands. You know, she didn't say anything about the hands, but you know.
Yeah, once you get a little older, then it's more like jujitsu, where they come at you with that aggressive energy, and you use it and use their aggression and fucking spin it into your favor.
Spin it.
Yeah,
that's not bad. That's not bad.
You're more prepared to handle the aggressiveness. It's a little rough your first couple fucking times.
It's something that's extraordinarily working in your favor. It is not that hard to navigate.
When you get a little older, it's like fucking I struck gold.
Yeah,
and
yes, it is. Just don't.
It's a lot different experience.
Easy.
Yeah,
it is very well. Sorry, it's very difficult to fuck up if it's already working in your favor. Just don't be a complete buffoon. I was going to say though.
That's why I like when I hear like girls be like, I can't find a man. It's like, well, then you're not fucking trying. Because if you're a girl, you could probably ask out 100 dudes, and 99 of them will say yes. If you can't fucking find one that you like, I don't know. Then you're not trying very hard.
Either your standards are ridiculously not high, but real specific, like extraordinarily specific what you're looking for, or you are really scared to try to meet somebody. That's got to be what's going on there. You're sitting at home all day by yourself, not trying to meet anyone. That's what's happening. And the guys that like you, you're ignoring them because they like you. You don't like them. And that's what happens too, for both groups.
Yeah.
I was going to mention though your theory about the cloaks. I mean, this is a strong one where you could be saying this is Kvothe, not Rothfuss. This is Kvothe trying to. Well, I guess you've said that plenty with Devi, where he's trying to make Devi into a redhead. He's trying to make. Yeah, he's trying to normalize.
Yeah.
The.
Yeah, she's probably Losi's probably not even a redhead. He's just people are going to go to the Pennysworth and she's going to be like a blonde. They're going to be like, what the fuck?
You know what's really, you know what's probably even worse about this whole situation now that I'm looking back through it again? Where she's like, oh, I didn't know you were that young. Pats him on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, it's
gives him a little pat on the head. It's okay. I'll go get, do you want an ice cream cone?
Would you like a lollipop?
How about a little cookie? Who's a big boy? Who wants a big cookie?
Now, granted, to give him credit, he does swing for the fences, hit some home runs over and over and over again when he comes back from the Fae with Losi. But how I do like also the irony of the end of it is like, it's not as bad as he thinks. He thinks they're all laughing at him because of what the fuck he just experienced. But instead they're like, oh yeah, she's turning all of us away.
Yeah.
And in his mind, it's going to be like, God damn, I'm an idiot.
Oh, don't worry about it. Turns everybody down. It's like, yeah, well, one, she didn't turn me down. I fucking made myself look like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, you don't really
she
want to
started
own up to
offering
that.
me like a big cookie and ice cream cones and fucking patting me on the head.
That'd be so funny if like his instinct was, no, she didn't turn me down. And then he didn't know where to go with it.
Yeah.
Because that's what
The
happened.
alternative is not better.
He's like, I'm over it, bro. I'm over it. That's all he can come back with. Like,
I turned her down.
About? Like, oh,
She didn't turn me down. I turned her down. And I told her, get in that kitchen and bring me out an ice cream cone.
She comes. I love this picture. She comes out all happy. Here you go, little boy. See?
Gives him a little hat with a fucking little spinny thing on the top.
Do you want me to troll you around in your chair? Do we spin you around?
Losi would be a lot better if she would have done that to him.
Really dress him down like real bad?
Yeah. And then I love this aspect of it. Like Marten comes up to him and he tells him like, you did a good job with Dedan out there. And my spirit slipped it a bit. Did I? And he's like, he says most folks try to bully him, make him feel stupid. And if you did that, he'd pay you back. But the way you handled it, he accepted it. And he's like, when he comes down to it, I bullied him. It's like, yeah, but you did it smart. He doesn't see it that way.
Yeah.
That's the key, is he doesn't feel like he was bullied. But
yeah,
then,
I thought it was funny that he was like, well, he was being stupid. And when you come right down to it, I did bullying. It's like, okay, good. You didn't do that then. I'm telling you, you're doing a good thing. Keep it up. Don't act like this then. Don't turn around and act like this. Jesus.
But yeah, and then so he ends up with Marten and he starts talking about like Hespe and Dedan, and Marten tells him Hespe offered to share a room with him tonight. He said casually, "Really?" I said, more than slightly surprised. "She's getting bolder." He gave a slow nod. "And?" I prompted. "And nothing." Dedan said he'd be damned before he spent money on a room he should have for free. He slid his eyes to me and raised an eyebrow. "You're not serious," I said flatly. "He has to know. He's just playing the simpleton because he doesn't like her." "I don't think so," Marten said, turning toward me and lowering his voice a bit. 3 span ago, we finished a caravan job from Raelian. It was a long haul, and Dedan and me had a pocket full of coin and nothing in particular to do with it. So by the end of the night, we're sitting in this grubby little dockside tavern, too drunk to stand up and leave. He starts talking about her. He went on for an hour, and you wouldn't have recognized the woman he was describing as our hard-eyed Hespe. He particularly sang about her. He sighed. He thinks she's too good for him, and he's convinced if he's so much as looked at her sideways, he'd end up with his arm broken in 3 places. But I love that Kvothe is like floored by this. Just like, oh, I don't get it. How can they not see that they're both desperately in love with each other? What is wrong with them? It's like,
That's great.
Yeah, exactly, Kvothe. What is wrong with them? Why don't they fucking see what is obvious to everybody else?
It's so great that he's in that position.
It's
especially coming right after him and Denna's fight. It's perfect.
It's such a great piece of writing to add that in there, that Kvothe would be flabbergasted by their obliviousness when, everybody who's reading this book, that's one of the things they are going to key on immediately is like, clearly, you guys are both into each other. Fucking, why don't you speak up? And then Kvothe having that same reaction towards someone else is just a little perfect little nugget that he put into the story here.
Yeah, it is. It's great, and it's great for us. It's great for the reader because we're there with Sim, consistently telling him like, dude, she gave you a fucking loot case. How much was it a loot case?
Yeah,
she's doing all of these things. She comes and finds you. She looks for you. What the fuck are you not seeing, dude? And then like in this situation, he's in that position. It's hilarious, man. It's fucking great because he just keeps going further with it, where it's like, yeah, exactly. Like, why didn't you tell him? It's like, tell him what? That was before she started
start going all cow-eyed over him. I thought his worries were fairly sensible at the time. What do you think Hespe would do to you if you were to give her a friendly pat on any of her friendly parts? Probably wouldn't risk my arm either, I admitted. But he has to know by now. He isn't blind. He's no worse off than the rest of us. I started to protest, then glanced over at the red-haired serving girl. We could tell him, I said. You could. He trusts you. Marten sucked at his teeth with his tongue. Nah, he said, setting his drink down firmly. It would just make things muddier. Either way, either he'll see it or he won't. In his own time, in his own way, he shrugged. Or not, and the sun will still rise in the morning. But I love that Kvothe's like, why don't you just fucking tell him? It's like, yeah, because that works with you. When Kvothe and Will and Fella and everybody is telling you what is obvious right in front of your face, and you're just like, no, you guys don't get it. It's fucking different.
Yeah, it's either like Kvothe, he's going to be in denial, or you're just going to fuck it all up anyway. And I do it again. I know I've mentioned it before, but I like picturing that Dedan turns into Date Mike.
Yeah. As soon as you tell him, he just fucks it up.
He starts acting like super obnoxious. He's like all over. And then she's like, all right, I don't like you like this. Never mind. I'm not into you.
First thing he does, like he comes up to her, is like, milk, lemonade.
Fucking idiot.
Like, you guys said I could, you said she was into me, and then I fucking did milk, lemonade, and she broke my arm.
I do like, I mean, a part of this, it's also great. That's how people are, man. You can't tell them what they don't see. And even if they want it, and especially if they want it, they're not going to see it the way that, they're just not going to see it clearly. You know what I mean? And even by telling them, you could fuck it all up. You know, so it's an interesting situation that we deal with in life, you know. And I like, it's great how it plays out. And then also the fact that his thoughts wander to Denna. Big surprise there, right?
Yeah. And especially right after that, where he's sitting there flabbergasted about their denial, and then he starts daydreaming about Denna immediately. It's like, yeah, it's your subconscious trying to fucking tell you, like, hey, same thing, man. Same fucking thing going on.
Yeah, this is the same dynamic that you can't see that everyone else sees.
But yeah, then he hears...
It's really funny, too. What's so great about it, too, is he's with them for a couple days and he sees it. Like, it's obvious.
Yeah.
He's like, he can't be blind. I mean, he's got to know now, right? He's got to know now. No, man, it's not that easy. Not for the person involved. Look at you, idiot.
And then he hears Dedan going, hunting bandits shouldn't be hard. Besides, it'll be nice to get the jump on them for a change. Lawless damn rabble bastards. The words drew me out of my warm drowse like a fish yanked from a pool. And Dedan's getting super loud, telling everybody in the bar what they're there for, like a fucking jackass. And he goes over and he gets tells Marten to get him, and then Marten goes up and signals him to go see Kvothe, and then he looks over, he sees Tempe, who's just macking on some woman, which this is the first time where you're like, what? Like, hold on. Like, this super shy guy can't look anybody in the eye, is like fucking immediately super aggressive. Like super aggressive and forward with this waitress, and fucking kissing the back of her hand. She blushed and pushed at his shoulder playfully. One of his hands moved smoothly to the curve of her waist and rested there. She didn't seem to mind. Like, that is not a shy guy.
No.
And it's the opposite of a shy guy. That is someone who is very confident in themselves. But it's also, it's not just so much confidence either, though. It's just part of their culture, too, that sex is just no big deal to them.
Well, and I was going to say, it's not just shyness either. You get the feeling like he's very uncomfortable in his own body, which is uncomfortable to be around. And you think that type of person, they'd be sitting in a corner by themselves in the dark. This guy would not be, he certainly wouldn't be talking to anybody, and certainly wouldn't be hitting on a woman and doing well.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are the inconsistencies where you're like, what the hell is going on with this guy?
Yeah.
makes him a tremendously interesting character. The whole introduction. I mean, this is one of those things where I can imagine reading it again for the first time, but you can't recreate, that feeling of, because you know what he's capable of, you know what he ends up being. You can still appreciate, obviously, how Rothfuss did it, but it's one of those things that is lost on a reread in terms of the unveiling. And,
yeah, the nice thing though on the reread is you don't pick up that stuff the first time through.
Yeah,
it's just, he just seems weird. He doesn't make a lot of sense. It seems contradictory. And then it's only after you're going back through it that everything, pieces together, because you're not even going to remember everything from it. But so
that's a good point. This wouldn't stand out. It stands out. It subtly stands out in the sense that these are inconsistent things.
Yeah.
Like what's going on here? You have enough to focus on with Dedan and Marten and Kvothe's situation, and it's just his underlying sort of thing that's going on that evolves.
But then Dedan comes up to him and he's like, "Have you called me over here to tell me it's getting late, that I've got a busy day tomorrow, and I should tuck my little self into bed?" I laughed dismissively. "Hell, I'm not your mom." Actually, I had been about to say that very thing, and scrambled mentally for something else to distract him with. Then he does a good job with it, with the, "Hey, I was wondering if you could tell me something," I said in my best conspiratorial tone. His scowl gave way to curiosity, and I lowered my voice a little more. "You've been here before, right?" He nodded, leaning a little closer. "Do you know what the girl's name is?" I nodded my head in the redhead's direction. Dedan took an over-careful look over his shoulder that surely would have drawn her attention if she'd been facing away from us. And, I love that aspect, because I could picture Dedan, doing a non-subtle, "Hey, check that girl out behind you," and then non-subtly checking her out. Jesus, dude. You're not smooth at all.
It's those little things. It's those little things that, and it's also when he looks across the room squinting, and when he looks back, he's still squinting. There's no reason to squint. It's just those little things where it's like, this guy's a little drunk probably, but it's like, man, this dude's kind of jackass, man.
Yeah.
And I love that. I like that you pointed that out. It's that when you do that, when you're like, "Hey man, don't look, but over there," and you're like, "Where? What the fuck, man? What did you say?
Oh, are you talking about her? right over there?"
I've been in that situation. I mean, I'm sure everybody has to some degree, where you're just like, "All right, fuck. I'm just never going to talk to you." What the fuck, man?
I'm never going to tell you to look at things again. But then so he's like, the Dedan goes, "The blonde one the Adam's pulling at?" Dedan asked. "Redhead." Dedan's broad forehead wrinkled as he squinted the far side of the room into focus. "Losi?" he asked softly. He turned to me, still squinting. "Little Losi?" An explosive laugh burst out of the big man, and he half fell, half slid onto the bench across from me. "Losi?" He chuckled a little more loudly than I liked. "Kvothe, I had you all wrong." He slapped the table with the flat of his hand and laughed again, nearly tipping himself over backward on the bench. "You've got a good eye, boy, but you haven't got a damn chance." My battered pride pricked up at this. "Why not?" "Isn't she, well?" I trailed off, making an inarticulate gesture. "A whore?" he asked incredulously. "God, boy, no. There's a couple around." He made a sweeping gesture over his head, then lowered his voice to a more private level. "Not really whores, mind you. Just girls who don't mind a little extra at night." He paused, blinked. "Money, extra money, and extra other things," he chortled. I just thought, I began weakly. Any man who'd ever had eyes and balls thought that. He leaned a little closer. "She's a lusty little one. She'll trip a man who catches her eyes, but she can't be talked or brought into bed." But I love that whole fucking reaction of Dedan. It's like, fucking little rich brat, and he's like, "Hey, what's up with that chick?" And he's like, "Oh shit, my boy." Fucking, "I thought you were a fucking douche. You're fucking dope. You like women too. I like boobs. You like boobs. We're the same."
I am curious. I am curious. Isn't she well? I trailed off, making an inarticulate gesture. What's the gesture? What do you think?
Circle, finger in the hole.
Finger in the hole, yeah. I was thinking either that one, or it's what people like to do when they're bored. and they're just like, ah.
Yeah.
It looks like they're moving hose. They're
Yeah.
pulling hose out of their pants. I was thinking maybe that one.
Yeah.
It is. I don't know. I mean, obviously, he leaves it open to interpretation, but I didn't think about it until we went through it on this one.
They should definitely do that if they make it into a TV show. Like, he should be like, hole, finger in the hole.
I think it should be a whole thing. I think they should stop. Like, at that point when he does the, I thought she was well.
I don't know what that means. Like, what is you're putting your finger into your hand and is making a circle? I don't get what that is.
I like where you're going with that. So what happens is he goes, I don't know what you're doing. And then it's a musical. It breaks into a musical number about what those gestures mean.
Yeah. No musical parts in it other than the Aeolian, but no music in the story at all except for that. And he breaks into a musical to explain his inarticulate gesture.
I love it, dude. And then all the people are involved. Little Losi's involved. All the other barmaids, they're all dancing around. And Tempe's like,
yeah. All the girls are like swinging their arms and like, he's talking about boning. I
love it, dude. I think this is a solid 3 minutes of an episode.
God, man. Fucking Netflix, man. If they hit us up, we're going to fucking nail this out of the park.
Yeah.
They definitely need us consulting on this. Because, like, a lot of these ideas are amazing. And they're not going to do it. They're going to fucking go the serious route. And they're not going to have any of the fun stuff in there.
So I think we talked about a musical before for certain parts. But now I like the idea of the entire tone of the series would not be musical. Just this scene.
Yeah.
Just the gesture is the only one that it breaks into. Yeah, there you go.
Like, no, and in not only like a musical, except for like no music plays. So he's just like, he's in a bar with no music playing, and he's like singing, and the background singers are singing, but there's like no music behind it. So it would just be like if someone started singing in a bar that you were at, like there would be that awkward, like, what the fuck is going on? And he's doing it.
Because if I remember right,
it's like, have you seen?
Just stopped playing. So yeah.
Have you seen that the show with Eric Andre or whatever his name is? He's got a show on Netflix where he like did like sketch comedy, but he made it with actual. He did it in front of like a Jackass type movie.
Yeah.
Well, there's like one part where he breaks into a musical in the mall, and people are just like looking at him like, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?"
Dude, he's great. His show is so great because he does a lot of those sketches and on the street things, or going to deli and do some crazy ass shit. That show's hilarious, man. He's great. I gotta watch that.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. But yeah, then so he talks to him about that, and then he tells him, thanks for filling me in. Nothing to it. He carefully got to his feet. Oh, I said, as if a thought just occurred to me. Could you do me a favor? He nodded and gestured him closer. I'm worried Hespe might end up talking about our job for the mayor. If the bandits here were hunting them, things will get 10 times harder. Guilty look flashed across his face. I'm pretty sure she wouldn't mention it, but you know how women like to talk. I understand, he said quickly as he stood up. I'll talk to her. Better to be careful. When I looked up, I saw Marten at the table next to mine. He touched his finger to his forehead and nodded a small salute. I gave a slight seated bow. It's always nice to have an appreciative audience. It's a great little aspect of the interaction. Like, you start to get to know. He does a real good job of letting you know who these people are pretty quickly. You start to get comfortable with them very quickly.
Yeah. This is a tremendous way to do it, and it also shows you Kvothe is very capable of managing this because he manages it in such a way that works great. And dude, the whole thing with Dedan is so perfect too, because he becomes a friend, but then he's like, I'm worried she might say something, and then he gets guilty. He looks guilty because he fucking knows he is, and then he's like, women like to talk, and it's like, that's you again. That's
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. Which is really funny too, because when they describe Hespe at the bar, there's a distance on both sides of her. No one's
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
to her.
exactly. It was like
She's
the
not over
one
there
person
chatting it up.
like he doesn't have to worry about spilling the beans is Hespe.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Great management. He's showing his prowess in the management field.
Yeah, I know how women are. Yeah, you're right. She probably will go fucking run in her mouth, fucking little woman.
Fucking idiot. It's great.
Yeah, it's fucking it's fun little chapters with them. I guess we'll wrap there on but like next week we'll run into they'll get into the woods and they'll start making their plan to hunt the bandits. I don't know how far we'll get, but obviously we're getting into them hunting the bandits from probably here in the next couple episodes, and within the next couple episodes we'll get to the big fight with the bandits, because it's not super long a period of time that he spends with them, but it's a decent chunk, but it's not overly long.
It's one of those interesting things that he's able to do, man. Every time you think you're in a situation especially this book, every time you like become comfortable in a situation, it moves.
Yeah.
Every time you're like getting there where you're like, oh, this is kind of the normalcy, then it completely shifts and you're somewhere else.
Yeah, it's impressive. Like, I mean, he tells, the whole interaction with the mayor, like that we just got through. When you're in it, it feels longer than it is because you get to know the people and it doesn't feel rushed. It feels like you've been there and you live in it. But when you like just look at how many pages it is, it's like, man, that's just a small portion of the book, really.
Yeah. Well, and I think the same thing does happen here. And I just remembered we get some really big stories that we talked about in the first handful of chapters.
Yeah.
Right? So we get some of those great stories on the road about the moon and Jax, I think, and we get the belly button story. We get some classic stuff.
Get a couple big stories, and then the fight with the bandits is legendary, and then Florian. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, people who don't like the books, this is usually where the aspect of the books they don't like, but it's just different strokes because I think these are great.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they're awesome. And again, it's fleshing out that world and giving us more. It's building Kvothe. I mean, he's a kid, man, and he's becoming an able adult right before our very eyes. Little Kvothe got his ice cream cone.
Little Kvothe getting his big cookie and ice cream cone.
But what might be happening, I'm doubly excited. We might be talking about the Doors of Stone on the next episode.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's a side episode, but
yeah, we might just do something like on YouTube for that. Instead of making a whole episode about it, because eventually when that book comes out, we'll obviously cover the chapters for real.
Oh yeah.
Might just do something on YouTube about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would make sense to do something more timely, obviously, because it's just now.
Yeah.
But nice. Yeah, I'm excited about that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Send in your money, send the money.
Finally get some confirmation on some of our theories. Unless he wants, you know what? He might hold back stuff that like Mario Brothers and Jack in the Box, that kind of stuff. He might hold that back for the books and give a chapter that doesn't cover any of the stuff like that we've talked about.
What if the entire chapter is about cloaks?
I'll be so mad.
Or maybe it's the origin chapter we just talked about. It's called Kote, although I think there's a chapter called Kote already, but it's called Kote, and it's about the break of cloak to coat.
Yeah, that's going to be
revealing for a bonus for like.
It'd be hilarious. Like, immediately comes in, like people keep mocking his cloak, and then he finally just has a mental breakdown. It's like, fine, I'll just start wearing coats. Why don't you just call me Coat? Fucking, it just like snaps. Something breaks inside of him.
Oh man, Twitter would go nuts.
Yeah.
Shit.
Like, hold on. We're releasing episode 42 now. Like, you got to hear this. And you're going to think we said this after the fact. I promise you, I predicted this first.
Oh, man.
I fucking called it.
It's good stuff. We still got, are we half?
We're a little over halfway now, yeah. Yeah.
Right. Lots of things. They go on. Things happen.
Things and stuff, man. Things and stuff. 53% through the book.
Well,
so we got a lot more things and stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll have things, we'll have stuff, and we'll have more dead on, 100% accurate speculation.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we definitely got plenty more predictions to come. Because we nailed it out of the park today, and we definitely got a lot more of those kind of predictions coming because they're spot on, and we still got to flesh the story out.
Well, there's two things being accomplished. It's bragging rights once we're proven right, but we're also doing what Rothfuss and Sanderson have given us credit for, which is, they write the books, we make them pop, we make them sizzle.
Yeah, we're making them pop and sizzle, and. The downside for the fans, they're not going to get like that, first read through surprise experience because they're going to know all about how the books are going to go. But it'll be more like the reread experience where they get to, experience like they see where the clues fit in, and they're always just like, yeah, podcast nailed it. Dan was right. Dan was right. Dan was right. Dan was right.
Well, what I was going to say was rather than that, the biggest reward that everybody gets to appreciate is they get to tell all their friends and people, I knew this already. I already knew this. It's it's the equivalent of the book is much better.
Yeah.
Somebody watches the show. Oh, but
podcast is better.
Did you know that in the book, Did you know the podcast already knew this?
Podcast was better.
Like, what? Yeah. You don't listen to podcasts? Wake up, dude.
But all right,
get over yourself.
We will see you guys next week. If you haven't started listening to the Stormlight Archives episodes, those are fucking jamming too. So, got more Kingkiller and Stormlight Archives to come.
Yup.
All right, peace out.
Yep, peace.